All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the October 9th, 2025 meeting of the Fairfax County Architectural Review Board to order. Before we start the meeting, we do have to do a couple of motions. We do not have anybody participating remotely this evening, but we do have to have a motion on public comment time. The ARB needs to determine how long each member of the public will be able to speak during the public comment periods. The public will be allowed to comment after the consent agenda items and after each action item as is standard ARB practice. Mr. Daniel.
I move that each member of the public have 3 minutes to speak.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Burns, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? That motion carries. We, as is ARB tradition, begin our meeting with the reading of the statement of purpose and intent of historic overlay districts, and Ms. Hammack has graciously agreed to read this evening.
No problem. Historic overlay districts are created for the purpose of promoting the general welfare, education, economic prosperity, and recreational pleasure of the public through the perpetuation of those general areas or individual structures and premises that have been officially designated by the Board of Supervisors as having historical, cultural, architectural, or archaeological significance. Regulations within such districts are intended to protect against destruction of or encroachment upon such areas, structures, and premises, to encourage uses which will lead to their continuance, conservation, and improvement in a manner appropriate to the preservation of the cultural, social, economic, political, architectural, or archaeological heritage of the county, to prevent the creation of environmental influences adverse to such purposes, and to assure that new structures and uses within such districts will be in keeping with the character to be preserved and enhanced.
Thank you, Ms. Hammack. Next, I need a motion to approve the agenda. Mr. Burns.
Mr. Chairman, I move that ARB approve the agenda for the October 9th, 2025 ARB meeting.
Is there a second? Ms. Mangum seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? We have an agenda. I would remind applicants, please limit your project presentation time to 8 minutes for a first submission. And if you have a resubmission, please try to limit it to 3 minutes, focusing on what has changed since the last time you presented to the board. Denise, do we have any guests to introduce or recognize this evening?
I am aware.
All righty. So that will bring us into our consent calendar action items. First is ARB 2025 MV 00048. Borough Solar located at 8881 White Orchard Place in Lorton. Applicants proposing to install 4 roof-mounted solar panels, 4 in-phase microinverters, and a junction box to a pre-existing solar PV system. This is on the consent item. Does anybody wish to comment on this one? Not all at once. Okay. Are there any questions or comments from board members? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion. Mr. Daniel.
Mr. Chairman, I move the ARB approve action item ARB 2025 MV 00048 located at 8881 White Orchard Place, Lorton Tax Map 1071-07107 in the Lorton Laurel Hill MOA eligible district for the proposed solar panel installation as submitted and presented at the October 9th, 2025 ARB meeting. Upon reviewing materials, the proposal is found to meet the requirements of the memorandum of agreement for the Lorton Laurel Hill eligible district and zoning ordinance 3101 historic overlay districts.
Is there a second? Mr. Plumpy, seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries and that project is approved.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. You have a good evening.
Please.
Yes, sir. You have a good evening. All right, that brings us into our items for action. First up is ARB 2025 MV 00045, the Fulcher Stiers Terrace Steps, located at 7302 Rippon Road in Alexandria. The applicant is proposing to build a terraced staircase connecting the upper patio to the entry level of the home. And Ms. Couchman represents the application. Good evening.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Burns.
Before, yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Burns has a statement he must make.
Thank you, Mr.
You can
Chairman.
stay. You can stay.
I, John Burns, declare my personal interest in transactions brought before the Architectural Review Board involving the Holland Hills Historic Overlay District, and specifically state the following for the October 9th, 2025 ARB meeting. I am making this statement regarding action item ARB 2025 MV 00045 on the October agenda in the interest of transparency and to avoid even the appearance of a conflict of interest. Number one, I own and reside a home in the Holland Hills HOD. Two, the property under consideration tonight is not adjacent to or visible from my property. Three, I have not worked with or received a gift or benefit from anyone associated with this project. Accordingly, I'm able to participate in the transaction fairly, objectively, and in the public interest. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Ms. Couchman.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes,
I'm
please.
Sarah Couchman, and tonight with me is the homeowner, Seth Stiers.
Nice to meet you all. Sorry my wife Christine could not be here. Tiny child and pregnant wife. So happy to be here. Thank you.
So what I would like to do tonight is respond to some of the comments that we received last month. And they primarily focused on the integration of the design into the site and with relation to the house, continuity of materials, and there were some comments on vegetation as well. So I have provided a new photo of the house for our cover page. What I just wanted to highlight in this photo is, as you can see right here, this is the railing that is across the existing patio. So the proposed design is coming down behind these shrubs, but in front of this railing up here. So that is I think an updated photo from the last one. Next slide, please. And again, to provide a better context of the site, I have some photos. We also do have a short video that we can show that walks the site, if that's helpful, because I do think that having a better understanding of the site will help with understanding how the design fits in. Is it possible to zoom in a little bit?
Sorry, yeah.
Oh.
Which picture?
Yeah, if we can just go from the top
Okay.
left. Okay. So this is as we are walking south to north along Ripon Road. So as you can see, they currently have shrubs that, as you know from the presentation last month, are going to be replaced as indicated on the planting plan. But the proposed plantings will have the same coverage as far as height and spread. So right now from this view, oh, that's okay. There we go. Yeah, that's great. From this view, the proposed design actually is not visible from the street. Can we just slide to the side? There we go. This was a ramp created by Washington Gas, so there is a break in the foliage. With the proposed plantings, that break will not be there. So again, still can't quite see the area yet. We keep moving. Okay, now we come to their front steps, and this is the photo that was on the cover. There's the railing that we're talking about, and maybe one more. Yeah, and so then here you can see this is the area for the proposed design. And then if we go down to the second view, this is then once you're in the site. And one of the ways that we would like to address the continuity of materials is that this whole foundation of the house is painted brick. And so we are proposing to paint this brick wall as well. And if you scroll down a little bit, that's a sort of a simulation of what that would look like. So we are trying to decrease the number of different materials. And then, yeah, if you want to pull out now. So then, again, this is once you are up on the hill behind the shrubbery, you can see this. So these two views would not be visible until you come up the front steps. Okay. I think we can go to the next slide. And then these are the views that were in last month's presentation. I think we can probably go through those. Next slide. This is one of the sections, two of the sections. Next slide. And this is from the neighbor's house, looking south to north, standing from in the south looking north. And then I've done some additional Next slide. This is the design and sort of our inspiration photo. Next slide. And then this shows, this is a simulation of what it would look like. One of the comments was plantings, and so with Seth and Christine, we came up with some evergreens that would stay in the planters year-round so that there is less hardscape when you view the terraces. So this would be the planted view. And next slide. And then here's a head-on angle that, again, this view you will see only if you are in their yard. And the next slide. There were a couple questions about materials. So this is another picture of the railing. It is already installed. This is the current situation here. It's this is the manufacturer page, and then the concrete will match what is on their existing patio right now. So it's not white, it's sort of a gray white. And last slide. And this is the revised planting plan. So, so we have the plantings along the front to replace the hedge that is there now. And then we have included some evergreens in the planter boxes, some inkberry hollies and some candy tuft to give it some leucothea, hypericum, and witch hazel, so that there is some greenery to soften the concrete even in the winter. If we could just play one of the first video real quick.
Sure. I'll play one. You want me? Is that the right one?
Sure, let's do this one.
Okay.
If we need to do the other one, we can.
Sound is off, so we don't get feedback. That's all right?
That's totally fine. Yeah, it's me walking through. I'm not saying anything. I don't think I'm jolting that much when I'm walking, but. It's just loading.
It's very helpful for context, though.
Good.
Great.
Okay.
I don't think we've ever had a video brought in.
We have another one from the other angle if you'd like to see that as well.
In the video, that red tape going across, is that the edge of the last terrace?
Yes, yeah, with the edge of last planter, yeah. Yes, right there. Yep.
Okay.
So it stops before the house actually comes forward farther than the last planter box.
Okay, let me, you can only have one view at a time. Do you know by title which one we saw?
No,
Which one we didn't?
no.
Should I-
Jonathan, I think we're
Oh,
all
I
right.
get, yeah,
All right.
okay. It was
Okay.
That's perfect.
Okay.
I don't want to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
Great.
Please.
Any members of the public that wish to comment on this one? Excellent. I turn it over to my fellow board members for any questions or comments. Mr. Plumpy.
Sure. Real quickly, the plan you just had there, the revised landscape planting plan, I think you came in last time and said there's a vegetable garden or something in there, but that has been mixed or?
Well, we still have, so you can see there are some blank areas,
Okay.
you know, where they could do some planting.
Intermixed.
Yeah, okay. Before there was
You need the
nothing.
bees to come to the.
What's that?
You need the bees to come to the veggies.
There you go.
They or hopefully have a pollinator garden in the backyard, so we'll see. And I know that the plants right now, I wonder the existing ones, deciduous, evergreen, or what? What's there right now currently? Do you know?
Right now, it's a mix of euonymus,
Evergreen, euonymus, Manhattan euonymus.
and there is some barberry in there.
Okay.
So they're all, well, it's in keeping with sort of the old
Yeah, gotcha.
Holland Hills
That's
plant
fine.
palette.
And I know your proposed landscape has some deciduous, some evergreen in there. It's
Yes.
going to look a lot smaller than that when it's first installed. It will be more viewable from the street. I think as long as the quality materials is there and the planting is maintained, it's probably will be adequate. The question is was there any reason why just throwing it out there, why you didn't build the planters out of the same brick that was there, and the rest, and right now you're using the wood planks or something to make the planters, is that correct?
Composite, yep.
Okay, just asking the question in general, was that just a preference to change materials, was something different? Or?
For us, aesthetic, we liked the intermixing of the wood planks with the cements. We felt that it softened it even more than brick next to cement would.
Does the wood planks, are they stained or they got a natural weather cedar like gray eventually?
So, would you mind going back to the
Oh,
materials?
sorry, I'm sorry, so
please?
it's AZAC? It's a synthetic product, okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, so, so part of it was trying to also establish the connection with the very modern architecture. We wanted sort of a sleek is maybe not the word, but a very clean, a very clean look. And we felt like just having the simple concrete, it does coordinate with the patio above. We felt like that would be consistent with the architecture on the house.
I think that's all the questions I have.
Mr. Daniel, then Ms. Hammond. No, you're fine.
So I think the video really helped because I think I get a better impression of how it'll sit on the site. I think any type of rendering software makes something particularly with that much material look massive. And I think it may be big, but I don't feel like it feels as big to me seeing the site rather than trying to deal with rationalizing a graphical representation. That said, I did have a similar thought that Joe had about brick. I'm not very keen about the idea of painting the brick on the other side there. Like exposed brick is kind of a material type for Holland Hills, and painting it, I think, I don't feel like it benefits anything in my personal opinion. At least that's just my take on it, because I was looking for our guidelines for Holland Hills and trying to see anything about painted brick. And in most cases, we only specifically speak to just exposed brick, obviously, since that's a prominent feature. So that was kind of my biggest item. I think when you look at the landscaping guidelines section of Holland Hills, there's a lot for interpretation in there. And so in my mind, it's kind of a challenge to reconcile, well, is this going to be more overwhelming than any other landscaping feature we've seen at other houses when I've gone for the Holland Hills neighborhood? And I think the biggest concern I still have in my mind is, while I feel like it does sit better with the video on my site, is still going to be very prominent. That's probably my still biggest worry, and I think some of the concerns were assuaged with Joe talking about some of the evergreens being used, so it's not, especially during the winter, this desolate area of, just open space and concrete. But I appreciate that context. I think it's made me feel a little more comfortable with the idea. Only one board member.
Ms. Hammond.
I have much better understanding of the site, so I do feel comfortable with the proposal, basically, but I could only approve it today. I feel pretty strongly about not painting that retaining wall in the front of the building. And if you could zoom in maybe on the photo of the house straight on, to me, it's really the placement of that retaining wall. By painting it gray, it's competing with the geometry of the house, and just, I think, instead of, maybe your intention was for it to blend away, but I think it actually causes more attention to itself, and the brick blends away. And the brick reads as a landscape feature, and the gray, suddenly visually, you're like, is this part of the foundation? This is part of the house? And I just think that detracts from the architectural character of the historic home. If you could pull up an image of the stairs as proposed with the planners, to me, your design reads more industrial than Holland Hills modern with the concrete and the wood. I have no problem with, I don't think we made the comment at the last meeting that there should be less materials overall. The planners to the right, the smaller ones, could be brick, or they could be the faux wood, or the paving on the floor of the patio could be brick. I don't know, like, to me, it's monolithic. I don't know, these are like minor things. Like, my real sticking point is not painting the retaining wall of the primary elevation. And that's it.
Can I just tag on to that?
Yeah.
Well, was there any rationale not to do the Trex planter on the right-hand side as opposed to concrete? Could you make all the planters be a similar material where the tree is, the small tree?
Go with the curve.
So there's a curve, that wall curves. So yeah, it's hard to see from that view. If you look at the plan view, so so it would be challenging to
Point in
achieve.
place concrete.
Yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Other comments? Mr. Burns. Sorry.
A couple of weeks ago, you graciously invited me, along with your architect, to come visit the site, and I did that. And in our discussions then, discovered a number of things related to the project that was approved in 2024. And that is, you didn't build it as it was approved. You made changes. For one, the retaining wall that comes out from the second story level goes 3, maybe 5 feet closer to the property line, or whatever it was. I asked if he would explain that when we came here today, but that's not in your presentation. There was a retaining wall at the back side of the patio that was marked to be retained. Instead, that was replaced with a concrete wall. And there was a retaining wall parallel to the front edge of the house that was proposed to be retained in the 2024 approved design that was removed. And there was a second retaining wall that was going to be added that we presumed was going to be brick to match the retaining wall you were going to keep. Those features have all disappeared. So
I can talk you through those.
if you would, because it's bigger than it was approved to start. And now it is in a material that is, it's an urban material. Concrete is, we're not in New York City, we're in a suburban location.
Would you like me to talk you through the?
No,
Sure.
Be happy to let you
Yeah.
go through the whole thing, but please hear me out. So we still have this dichotomy of the suburban material and the urban material. And the new design has harder edges and is more visually prominent. I'm curious because your photos, it's not as visually prominent as my memory holds. I don't know, but it just doesn't look as prominent. And maybe that's good because, the folks that are going to make the decision here tonight have to rely on what you have presented, not on my recollection. But if you would talk us through that and how that got through, and how those changes occurred, and because what you're presenting tonight, the presumption I think most people on our board have is that you built things as it was approved in 2024, and that wasn't the case. So if you could explain your starting point difference from the 2024 approved design to what you're proposing to do now, I think that would be very helpful.
Absolutely. And I can take this because this was a part of the actual construction of the renovation. So if folks remember or saw from the one sort of view, there's the kitchen addition that came through and was approved. And so to talk you through a couple of the retaining walls, I'll start kind of from the front of the yard and move forward. There was that knee-high retaining wall that was actually destroyed by Washington Gas when they replaced our gas lines. They had a large, you've seen the things that dig stuff up. And the only way to get to the gas line, which is actually on the side of the house that we're looking at, is to go right over it. So that was, not our choice, not our decision. But there was no way for them to get to it without going over that brick wall. So that was actually a bummer for us because we did want to keep that. There was another retaining wall that I think you mentioned that we had intended originally to keep. I don't have photos or anything in front of me right now, but if you've been there, so the site is clay And it's a very difficult topography. It goes up pretty sharply. I don't know the exact degree, but the clay had actually pushed that retaining wall such that it was at about this type of angle. And so we made the decision during construction that there was no saving of the retaining wall. And because there was no saving of the retaining wall, it was effectively a retaining wall. And then where the new wall is, where you were going to see. So we decided to remove all of the dirt and then keep that wall instead of having these sort of like large wall. And I apologize, I don't have the language, but the primary wall that you see now, we removed all of the dirt. So I would describe it, again, as a layman, as just the realities of construction. And as our builders, and again, as Washington Gas came in to replace gas lines, started operating on the site, things were destroyed, unfortunately, and there was just nothing to do because otherwise they would have had to go up through our neighbor's yard, which obviously we couldn't do or couldn't ask our neighbor to do. So, you know, unfortunate, I would say, but those were the realities of the construction. I think I got 2 of your notes, Mr. Burns, or at least, you know, gave you my own reading of them. Did I miss one of them? I apologize.
No, you've substantially answered my concern.
Oh, thank you so much.
And just to clarify, you did go through the approval process with the Department of Land Development Services.
Mhm.
I think there is a disconnect, or maybe the information isn't clear as to when an applicant has to come back to the Board of Architectural Review. So
Right.
I don't think there was any deliberate avoidance. You know, it was, you were following the
Yeah.
rules, I guess.
Yeah, certainly not that. I mean, again, the knee-high wall, Washington Gas came and knocked on our door and said, we're doing this. And we said, that sounds good. And we went to work and we came home and there was a pile of bricks in our yard and sort of nothing to do about them, unfortunately.
Washington Gas is replacing all of our gas lines. in
Yeah.
the hills.
Yeah.
I've been there. But if you ask, they will go under obstructions. And so you should have asked.
Well, I think the
Kept that
additional,
wall, and we might have had this discussion.
yes, sir, I appreciate that. I think the additional sort of issue for us was that, that knee-high brick wall, on the other side of it was a brick patio on top of concrete. So they had to go under they had to go under the brick and the concrete. And then they had to go, I think, about 10 to 12 feet back to where the gas meter was. So mind you, I did not ask, but I also, like, we came home and they had just sort of dug up everything, unfortunately.
Any other questions or comments? Any motions?
The painting, the front, is that?
Oh, well, I'm so sorry, if we did like little blanks on the front side.
Oh, we
For
could,
visuals?
sure. Okay, well, so, I mean, there is the possibility, but what Mr. Stiers is talking about right now would be, you know, if there's a need, if you're feeling a need for balance, you know, we could put the composite decking on the front face of that planter that's on the right. And then the other thing that I was saying is that we were trying to listen to comments that we received last month, and that is why we suggested painting the wall. I think the
Loud and
homeowners
clear?
are
Yeah.
fine with not painting the
Yeah.
wall.
Denise, if there were to be a motion to approve this item, if the wall's not going to be painted, is that a motion that would require modifications, or can we approve it?
No, well, it's in the
It's in
presentation.
the
So I was
presentation.
thinking we'd have to modify that.
Yeah.
I would also just point out that when we review these plans, paint is not something that we would ever see. So I would definitely, if you do not want the wall painted, then you should say that specifically.
I don't mind proposing a motion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that ARB approve with modifications, action item ARB-2021 2025-MV-00045, located at 7302 Ribbon Road, Alexandria, tax map 0934050016 in the Holland Hills HOD, for the proposed alterations as submitted, with the following modification: that the existing brick retaining wall at the primary elevation remain in its current condition, which is unpainted red brick, and approving all other proposed modifications with the exception of that as submitted and presented at the meeting of October 9th, 2025, the ARB meeting, October 9th, 2025, excuse me. The applicant must request an amendment from ARB for any proposed changes to ARB-2025-MV-00045 as approved by the ARB on October 9th, 2025. Upon review of the materials and the proposal is found to meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance 3101- historic overlay districts.
Second by Mr. Daniel. Mr. Johnson, do you have that okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry I did that.
Yeah, I
reverse.
just want to make sure it's one modification, right?
Yeah,
That the
the one
existing brick retaining wall at the primary elevation remain unpainted, which is red brick.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had myself.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Hammack. It's been seconded by Mr. Daniel. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Mr. Burns is opposed. Any abstentions? That motion carries 6-1. We're done. Thank you so much. Denise, do we have to take the next two separately? Or would we?
We have to do two separate.
Well, I know we have to do two separate motions, but
Yeah, I would suggest
one?
speaking about them together.
yeah, right.
and
It could be one, yeah, definitely two. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, agreed. All right, that brings us into our next action items, which are ARB 2025 FR 00053, variance for a garage addition, 7121 Harrison Lane in Alexandria in the Huntley Historic Overlay District, and also action item number 3, which is ARB 2025 FR 00051 7121 Harrison Lane garage addition. Ma'am, introduce yourself and you're ready to go.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you all. So I'm Lauren Rudy. I'm one of the homeowners. I'm not Kirk Gilroy. He had something come up. So I'm here representing the application tonight. So as you maybe remember, you did approve our application back in December, which thank you very much. So following that decision, we did get, if you remember, we had some conversation about whether the eave and the brackets would be considered against encroachment into the setback. So after the approval in December, we did hear back from zoning that it would in fact be considered in the total encroachment into the setback. So we spent a couple months trying to figure out what we wanted to do. And after some deliberation, we decided to change our application from a special permit to a variance, which is what the application is you have before you tonight. So the first slide, we can, this just shows the neighborhood. We can go to the next slide. Okay, this is a little different than I thought. We'll just keep going. So this is just the aerial view. Okay, so this is the plat. So you said it's okay that I cover both topics in my comments. Okay.
Please.
So, so since we changed the application to a variance, that then allowed us to keep the 1-foot eave with brackets, which is consistent with the other facades on the house. Since we are now having a variance application, we also increased the width of the garage by 1 more foot. So the total width is now 20 feet to be more consistent with the minimum width of a basic standard 2-car garage. So the encroachment is no closer than 6.5 feet from the property line, with the eave then no closer than 5.5 feet from the property line at this point. And then if you go to the next slide.
Well, that's it for this presentation. Let me open up the one for the addition.
Oh, okay.
It'll be the next
Just
one.
2 separate.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking. Okay, great. Thank you.
Skip over. I guess we've all seen this before.
It's still the same, it's still the same neighborhood.
Yeah, right.
Next slide. Okay, so this is just a reminder. This is what the existing west facade looks like from the street. of the existing home. Next slide. This is just focusing on proximity to the neighbor that will be most directly affected by the garage addition. Next slide. And then this is the other architectural change that we wanted to get before the ARB this evening as well. So I believe in previous ARB meetings, we had received some comments about adding windows on the south facade to the addition. Zoning also had similar comments, so you're all in agreement. So we added some windows. So we added 3 windows on the first floor and 3 windows on the second floor to be consistent and speak to the window placement on the north facade. So there's, some symmetry there. I think those are the big changes since the approval in December. So happy to take any questions.
All right, is there any member of the public that wishes to comment on this item? Excellent. I'll turn it over to my board members for any questions or comments. Remember, we can comment on both the variance request and then the design. We will vote on those 2 requests separately.
So the total width of the proposed garage is increasing by 1 foot?
1 foot.
Okay. But the roof line is the same, the height?
Correct.
I mean, I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but even just 1 foot, I mean, this does not read to me as a subservient garage addition, but it's not like that historic farmhouse that we saw a few weeks ago. So, I don't think the board necessarily needs to hold it to the same standard. So I feel comfortable with the modification, especially since we're gaining the nicely placed windows that are in a good fenestration pattern and match the operation of the existing windows. Question, did you have to pay filing fee twice since you changed?
The county was gracious enough to not charge.
Okay, that is like the first thing I thought. I was like, oh my God, it's fast. So,
Very appreciative
thank
to
you,
the county for that.
Mr. Pompey.
Sure. On the rear elevation, lower left, what is the element above the upper middle window? Is that a vent or something?
You're talking about on the south facade?
Yeah. Why is it so large and what is it?
So it's, we might have a picture of that facade on another slide. But it's currently just a faux grate on the existing house. So this proposal is just keeping that architectural feature.
On the new addition, that's the new addition?
Yes.
Okay. But it serves no functions, just like.
It's purely
Is it
aesthetic.
existing?
On the existing.
On the other end.
Well, if you're gonna put it in, you don't need to put a sill at the bottom. It's just
Oh, sure.
yeah, I mean, it's okay for a secondary elevation to have a flush louvered vent. You placed it well, it's the same size as the windows, paint it to match the siding. I think that a sill is just confusing.
We approved it with a sill last.
We should not have, that.
I'm not saying we,
I mean, it's not a blind window.
I'm just looking at the stamp set, and there it is with the sill.
Well, now we get to see it again. Save your money on the sill.
Trying to see if, pull up the picture.
Okay, she's going to answer that question.
I got an easy one.
Oh, sorry.
No, Anthony, you were looking for something.
I was looking to see if in this slide deck, do we have any other pictures of the existing structure? I know we have submitted them previously. I don't know if they made it into this.
I think there were more pictures.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Oh, there-
Yeah, so this is,
But it's a rounded top too, right?
Yeah.
yes, it is. So this is
Doesn't
the
look as
existing,
tight to the brackets.
Yeah, that's true, it's a little bit low.
So it's-
the brackets.
but it would be reusing this existing.
But not the square, not the rectilinear one they had, so you use the rounded one. And does it have to be as tall? Because I know it misses the brackets quite a bit more than your other new elevation. The brackets almost touch it, right? Or maybe touch it.
In
On
the
the
drawing.
In the drawing.
In the drawing on the new
Yeah.
elevation. If we could go back to, yeah, there we go. So yeah, so I think,
It looks larger than everything. I think
yeah.
that's.
So I think that's, we can, or, if the board is opposed to the vent, like I said, it's not functional,
Then let's get rid of the vent.
so.
Do you want the vent?
Yeah.
I'd take it off.
I would say it really,
Big
with the
clutter.
windows and everything now, it actually makes your facade look more cluttered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I could comment on
Well, I'm
that.
not gonna mess with that modification.
Oh, sorry, I'm acting like a chair and skipping over you.
Mr. Chairman.
You're good, you're good. Mr. Burns, then Ms. Mangum.
This facade is visible as you come up Harrison Lane, more so than as you're coming down the hill on Harrison Lane, the other end of the house. The other vent you basically don't see, but this one would be visible, and I agree with my colleagues here that I think it's a distraction to the overall design. So if it is not functional, I would simply recommend not installing it.
Sure. Yeah, and I think on the existing facade, since there are no windows, on that face right now, there's nothing to compete with it, right? But since we just recently got the feedback from zoning to add the windows and wanted to make sure we kept schedule, we're trying to be consistent with what was approved back in December, but I definitely hear what you guys are saying about how busy the facade is now, so we can remove it.
Ms. Mangum.
I got an easy one, just because it has come up before, but these will be real functional windows.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, okay, thank you.
It's a reasonable
Not interested in
question.
safe windows, yes.
Yes, perfect. I know they add expense to put sure they're not being they look like windows, but they're not actually windows.
That sounds
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I would certainly take a motion about a recommendation on the variance. Mr. Daniel.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the ARB recommend approval. Oh, hold on, let me make sure I've got this system right. Yeah, number 2.
Yeah.
Recommend approval of action item ARB 2025 FR 00053 located at 7121 Harrison Lane for the Hunley Historic Overlay District for the proposed variance for the increased reduction in setback from the south property line as submitted and presented at the October 9th, 2025 ARB meeting. Upon review of the materials, the proposal is found to meet the requirements of zoning ordinance 3101 Historic Overlay Districts.
Is there a second? Ms. Mangum seconds. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries. That brings us to action item number 3. I would remind board members that might need to make a modification if we're recommending any changes to the design. Mr. Daniel, if you have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the ARB approve action item ARB 2025 FR 00055 located at 7121 Harrison Lane in the Alexandria tax map 0924010006 in the Huntley Historic Overlay District. The proposed addition as submitted and presented at the October 9th, 2025 ARB meeting, subject to the following modification: that the proposed vent on the southern elevation of the proposed addition be removed from the proposed design. Upon review of those materials, the proposal is found to meet the requirements of zoning ordinance 3101 Historic Overlay Districts.
Is there a second? Mr. Burns, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, board members. Have a good
You're welcome. You have a good evening.
Hope you don't have to come back again.
I'm fingers crossed. Zoning's the end of the month.
All right.
I honked when I drove by.
That brings-
Oh.
My route to Home Depot, so I was like, I gotta, when is construction
We
starting?
go to Home Depot quite often, yes.
All right.
Thank you.
That brings us to our 4th action item, which is ARB 2025 MB 00051 River Farm Public Access Site Improvement Project with an elevated walkway at the Wellington River Farm Historic Overlay District. How are you?
Good evening. My name is Kathy Taylor from the law firm of Walsh Calici, representing the applicant this evening, American Horticultural Society. So tonight we are here on 2 applications, and I assume you'll want us to take this together.
Yeah, we can take them both up.
Okay.
But we'll just vote separately. So we'll also be
Correct.
taking up,
So what you just
yeah,
said.
right, yeah. So we'll also be taking up 2025 MV 00052 River Farm Public Access Building Improvement Project, also in the Wellington River Farm Historic Overlay District.
Appreciate that. So we're here for consideration and approval of both the site plan as well as the building permit plans. Joining me tonight, I do have representatives from American Horticultural Society, our civil engineers, as well as our architect. So they will be joining me at moments in this presentation to provide more details on both of those plans and to answer your questions. As you may recall, we were here in 2024, back in February, and then again a year later in 2025, several months ago. So I'm sure many of you are very familiar with this application already. It has taken some time to put together the plans, kind of work through with county staff. Many of the comments that we heard at the previous meeting in February, a lot of those details have been incorporated into our site plan as well as the building plans. So we can certainly talk through that as we go through this evening's presentation. I will be brief with my own remarks as I want to give the bulk of the time for discussion on the site as well as building permit plans and make sure we can address your concerns. Just by way of brief background, I'm sure you are all familiar, but it's been some time. You can see on this image, River Farm, which is an almost 28-acre property located in Alexandria, Virginia. It's zoned to the R2 district. It's in the Wellington at River Farm Historic Overlay District. As you know, it was part of George Washington's original farmland and is now the headquarters of the American Horticultural Society since 1973. So as we've discussed at previous workshops, this site is governed by special exception that was approved back in 2009. In 2022, the Virginia Assembly appropriated a certain amount of money specifically for accessibility improvements. And so just to reiterate what we've already discussed previously, the improvements that we have will be presenting in the site plan as well as building permit plans include creating an accessible ADA trail and viewing space, renovating the existing front entrance gates and modernizing that, creating new ADA accessible bathrooms within one of the existing garages, as well as making interior alterations to the existing carriage house. So before we jump into more detailed discussions on those, I do just want to highlight a few things since the last time we were here in February. The applicant did host a site visit following the next month in March at the River Farm property. A few of you were able to come to that. Thank you so much for joining us. We thought that was a good experience and that we hope that that was helpful to provide a better understanding of the site and the improvements we're proposing. Then in May of this past year, the county formally issued a determination letter, which in effect administratively approved our proposed improvements shown on the site and on the building permit plans. That letter concluded, which I believe we included that in your package. That letter, determination letter, concluded that these modifications were in substantial conformance with the governing special exception amendment application. And finally, consistent with that determination approval, I know the last time we were here, a phase 1 archaeological study was brought up. So the applicant has now performed and completed that as of July of this past year. And I won't go into the details of the methodology of that report. However, I'll say that upon completion of that phase 1 study, no artifacts were recovered, nor any new archaeological resources discovered. As such, the survey concluded that no further archaeological work was recommended for that River Farm study area. So at this point, I'll actually turn it over to our civil engineer to kind of talk through some of the site plan, kind of an overall general overview of the site plan, and then we're happy to answer those questions. So we can start with the site plan and then jump to the building permit plans.
Got my own little plan so I can refer you. Do you want to go to page, I think it's page 18. Let me see.
So if you look on the bottom, you can see the page 4, and you just keep going down, and it'll get to 18. Yeah.
Keep going. It's just a better over. I think it's page 18. Let me see.
Yeah, so it's page 9, and then you go to 18. That'd be great. Thank you so much.
Right there, yeah, go to that page. That gives you a good overall view. I'm sorry, first of all, I'm Kenneth Griffin. I work for Charles B. Johnson Associates. We're the civil engineering firm that produced the concept plan, as well as we're working on the minor site plan right now. It's ready for submission to the county. we hope. We thought we would get through this process first. So this right here is a good overall view of the work that's proposed on the minor site plan. Catherine did a good job of describing what's in this package. So I don't think my pointer will work on the screen. Does it? No. So down below here, you can see the main house is the big building on the bottom right there, yeah. So from there, we're doing the handicap access walkway all the way down across over to the building D is the garage right there is where they're renovating to add some restrooms for handicap access. So that walkway there is described in the approval letter. That's going to be a brick walkway, except where we cross the asphalt road, that's going to be asphalt, some sort of painting on it. Then from there, going up the page, we cross the road there, and then that's going to be asphalt to about a point, just a little bit past, right about there. It turns to a boardwalk. I think you're all aware of what's going on there. It gets very steep going down that hill. So the idea to get handicapped person down to the patio we want to build for the overlook, we came up with the idea of a boardwalk because we can slope that 8% landing. Every 30 feet, you can go 8%, right? So we were able to get down that 15% existing slope. I keep looking at Joe because I know him. So,
We talked.
yeah, we go way back. But so we get down the slope and it's about a 300-foot long ramping deck boardwalk. So it gets down to grade, and then we were actually on grade all the way down around till we get to down almost to the patio. Then we are cutting through a bit of a slope. We get to a nice 700 or so square foot patio. So right there, you have a great view of the river. That was our goal, to get people down there. It's going to be a bluestone patio. We propose, there's a seating wall there, as well as just a seating wall that's going to kind of slope up in there. So the conceptual details are in the minor site plan. I don't know if you've all had a chance to at all. If you have any detailed questions, we show a profile in there and everything. So we're providing the profile of the deck and the slopes and everything, just to make everyone's aware that it's handicap accessible. Do you have any questions on any of the detail of this plan? Some of the detail ideas are on page 11. And then the detailed blow-up of the patio is on page 29, if you want to take a look at any of those. Yeah, here's some of the characteristics on page 11 is what we would do for, like for instance, on the top right there's the example of what the boardwalk may look like. It would be primarily wood or synthetic wood for the decking part of it, with handicap railing all the way down it. We haven't designed the structural part of that yet, and that's coming soon. Then we have example gates there. Some of those are from, for instance, the property to the right is one of those gates there. So we're trying to keep in with some of the design that's already down around that area. The front part of the site is in a 200-foot park easement. So I think you're all aware we have to get approval from them, before we can do any of that gate work.
The National Park Service.
Yeah. So that's the, it says in the approval, would like one on the existing gates down in that area are cast iron or metal looking. So we're not sure what NPR, National Park Authority, is going to approve, but we're going to be submitting to them shortly. Then we have the handicap ramp examples with railings there. That'll be anything at 5% and over has to have railings. So you're going to see those railings on some of the walkway areas. The brick walkways I described earlier.
And I will just note that in the package, it's not part of the site plan, but we had comments that we had heard and asked about the view shed. So we did provide trail sections, kind of showing that view shed.
Yeah.
If that's still, something you'd like to discuss, we're happy to discuss that as well.
Yeah, I mean, in the package, the front part of the first 10 pages are the old concept plan that you've already seen.
Correct, that was approved with the administrative determination letter.
Right, so and we have the approval in there and we have that package as well.
Mr. Griffin, were you the only one who was going to present on the site plan portion?
I'm sorry.
Were you the only one, he's the only one who's presenting on the site plan? Okay. then what I want to do, if it's all right, is I want to allow my members to make comments on this and ask questions, if that's okay, and then we can move into the other. But I don't want to short circuit if you're done with it.
I'm good.
Okay, all right, then I know do any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Okay. And I know Ms. Mangum has some comments, and then if anybody else get my attention. Ms. Mangum, go ahead.
Sure, thank you. Well, thank you so much. My comments are primarily going to focus on the archaeological investigations. So whoever I'm directing my
I know a
comments
little bit
to.
about it. I got them engaged.
Okay. Great.
I'll try to answer.
Okay, sure. Well, okay, so I think first of all, I did review the report, so thank you for providing that. Just for my fellow board members' knowledge, I also reached out to Amy Wells at the Fairfax County Archaeology and Collections Branch. I know they're without a branch chief right now, but I think Amy is stepping in kind of to lead responses. So she did get back to me, and I did want to just clarify, because I didn't see the memo included in the documentation package, but perhaps they don't have it yet, or there may be some glitch, I guess, in the digital sharing of information across Fairfax County offices. But for the benefit of the board members, just wanted to clarify that Amy wrote to me in an email today that they did concur with the findings of the survey, and she is checking on the process to ensure that a memo gets out to you as the applicant, along with any other comments. I will just say, in particular, what I asked her about is whether the shovel testing, so basically where they did excavations, was very narrowly limited to the existing sidewalk and the trail itself, which is...
Yeah, we did our limit of work.
Yes. And so for that reason, I just wanted to clarify whether the ACB branch or that office got an opportunity to look at the total scope of work of the whole project, because I just wanted to make sure that they understood that one of the components of the trail project is something like 22,000 feet of reforestation. So that might be another large area of ground disturbance.
Yeah, we didn't shovel test pit those. Yeah.
Okay, and we can come back to that in a second. And then the mapping in the survey report also doesn't really mention anything about egress or ingress access points to get materials and equipment into the site to actually build.
Yeah, good question.
Okay.
I thought about that a lot.
Okay.
I've actually come to a
I'm sure you
contract.
did.
What we would do, even on one of these, you can see, we would start at the bottom, build this patio. So
Yes.
we're going to go down the same route. Silt fence will be placed around that clearing limit.
Okay.
And those are on different pages here, but they would start at the bottom, build that thing and work their way out. That's really the only way to do it, unless
Okay.
you want to drive across his front yard now.
He probably wouldn't like that.
Yeah, he doesn't like my idea about doing that. Yeah. But that's what we intend to do, is build it from the bottom up. And there's gonna be a lot of material, there'll be a lot of, we're not gonna use like humongous dump trucks going down there. There's gonna be smaller equipment going down to build this patio.
Okay. And the silt fences, I guess, will act as somewhat of a barrier for people to not go out of bounds and...
Yeah, yes, it will. Primarily, this paved area, this trail is pretty much on grade. There are a few areas, I have a markup in my office, but there's a couple of areas where there's a little bit of fill and in some areas a little bit of cut. Just the way it is when you have to keep your trail at 5% or less. Really less, we put it at 4.9 in spots, but you're right. I mean, it's hard to build, there's no doubt.
And so basically, I guess, if the ACB was consulted at the time you developed the work plan or the methodology to carry out the survey, did they agree that you didn't need to?
Well, I believe Dr. Hill, the guy that did the report, I believe he called Amy and talked to her, but I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
Get him.
Okay. And so that was the final question that I had asked back to Amy at the ACB, is for clarification on the other components of the project that were mentioned in the zoning, the approval letter, we'll call it, the May approval letter. I just wanted to make sure that they were aware of those other project components that do have.
Go to the very last page. It's the landscape areas. Yeah, it's too many pages in that set. It is a minor site plan too. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Oh, the last page of the set.
Yeah, I'm sorry, last page of my
So
site plan.
probably
Sorry.
page 39 of that.
Yep. Page 39 of the site plan. It shows the replanted areas. Might be before that.
Is the reforestation require this within?
Well, I was gonna talk about that. Like, for instance, one of them is a perennial flower area. It's, shoveling, putting in bulbs and such like that.
Okay.
So a couple of the other areas, we're gonna be planting seedlings and things of that nature. They're gonna naturally reforest those. If you walk down that trail, you'll notice, there you go. When you walk down those trails, those blobs you see there with the symbols, first of all, these ones here, these ones, these are kind of like open areas
Okay.
that were already kind of cleared out,
Okay.
weeded out and things, and we just want to kind of reforest.
So you don't have to remove giant, like invasive species?
We're not doing any
tree.
of that.
Okay,
We're gonna just hand plant things.
okay,
Then over here on this part here, which was the old tennis court, this is, this asphalt's all gonna be removed, so that's gonna be scraped out of there, and then we're just gonna replant it with, perennials and other things.
okay. And certainly, I mean, the tennis court, I think, would be one of the areas where you could argue there was extensive prior disturbance
Oh,
from
yeah,
the previous
absolutely.
grading that.
That's what he wrote in the report.
Exactly. And so that's where I completely concur, like, no need to do shovel testing in that
Right.
area.
Yeah,
I
we're not
just,
bringing mechanized equipment to plant these materials, it's all gonna be by hand.
and that was, the question too, was that I think there was not a lot of detail on what the reforestation constituted. So that might be an area where you just add
Yes.
a couple of limiting factors that, there's not anything to really remove. It's more about installation techniques for fairly small caliper,
Yeah, we can add a note in our site plan.
something like that. Yeah, just, I think rule out if that area was not surveyed, that there was a logic behind it, that.
Sure, and actually, your line of questioning is bringing me back to the review process when we went through the initial determination, and I think that was actually a question from county staff.
Okay.
Which is likely why in the determination letter, it was, nothing about that was included, because they did have us confirm that the reforestation would be not machinery.
Great.
So, and I'm happy to provide that information, but that was part of the review that they went through. So in light of that, if you actually look at the letter, they specifically identified the trail and then the walkway needing the archaeological phase 1 report, which is what we told our archaeologists, so
Okay.
that's what that was the limited study. But it's all coming back to me now. This has been a multi-year
I'm
process.
sure, and that's where it's like the details are where
Correct.
I'm gonna say, but why didn't you survey the
Right.
other areas? And there was a logic behind it.
Correct.
And all I
So it
want
was. You're right.
is
Now
for
that
you
we're going
to-
back. So it might be worth including some sort
We
of
can
note.
certainly put a note on that
Yeah.
sheet that explains that.
Okay, and I guess, to the extent that you have anything in writing from that prior meeting, because my final, I think, recommendation, given your responses, is I just would like for the record to, I don't know whether you've still retained the consultant or if this report is considered final, but, a nice wrap-up feature is if sometimes you can include as an appendix to the report, the concurrence from the ACB. It's nice to see that it's not exactly a stamp, but it is a staff level sort of approval, the methodology.
We can easily do that.
I think that would be a great way to just,
And when we submit the minor site plan, we're going to include that in plus
Yeah, the
anyway. So
report. So we could certainly.
Yeah.
We have not received anything from Amy. I did email her the report.
okay,
So I can follow up with her, and if we can get some sort of memorandum, then we'll pass that along and include that with the site.
I think that'd be great. And yeah, to the extent that you include some statement about because the zoning letter mentions the reforestation project.
Sure.
And I think
So maybe a
I
note.
highlighted the text about
Yeah.
pending archaeological, I just want that loose end to be tied up, basically. Yeah, I think it says, I think the specific areas were concluding about the south garage area, and then they mentioned the 22,000 square feet of area where the tree replanting, they call it replanting, so I guess that might be a clarification that it's not replanting, but new planting in currently cleared areas, so. But otherwise, I think, yes, hopefully whatever glitch is preventing that memo from getting to you, that will be resolved and maybe just an
Yeah, I
email
didn't
instead
look
of.
at the bus to see, but I don't know if it was even in the system.
Okay,
You mean the
Like if she-
memorandum?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she would have emailed that because we didn't submit that phase one anywhere on Plus. We emailed that directly to you.
Right, we kept it off of the public.
Publicly accessible,
Yeah.
sure, okay. All
But I
right,
can
thank you,
follow. Yeah,
thank
I'll
you very
follow.
much, thanks.
Other questions or comments from, yes, Mr.
Sure, I was going to say, Ken, thank you very much for a good presentation. I commend you that the boardwalk sections, because they have a rail on top, are below the line of sight from the home itself. So the top of the rail will not be seen from the home itself because it's kind of down on the side of the hill. Thank you for doing that. The question I had for the boardwalk schematic detail that you show, if we could maybe look at a lighter handrail. It's pretty heavy duty there. It's like more like a bigger rail. That's
Yeah,
no
in that one
recognition.
photo, I would agree. If you go back to the concept plan, there might be a,
Yeah, just on that schematic, the boardwalk schematic or similar on that page 11. That has the gaps on it and so forth. It's just a little heavy duty. Again, it's more like a bar rail, but if we could just make it a little bit more lighter, that's all.
yeah, I think I agree, yeah. Yeah, we can do that.
And what that's too,
Right now, we have the cable system
Cable rail.
in there for handicap, 4-inch parking.
would you not do that everywhere?
What?
Could we do that everywhere and just have a very small rail on top?
Down the whole boardwalk? Right?
Yeah, make it as invisible as possible.
Yeah, that's our goal.
They've got to be good. Instead of that detail that you showed.
We do have the idea also for the picket versions. They're real thin. Do you ever see those?
Yeah.
That's an option as well.
I'm sure you'll price it out and come back and show us what you would like to do. I guess something like that. But
It's one of those two that are most popular. They're doing that right now on the Parkway, on the the Parkway there.
you should be consistent then, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I mean, aren't we approving this? So I would hope they wouldn't have to come back. I would want to approve whatever's going to be the thing.
Okay.
They'll need
We'll
a
have to do
building
amendment.
permit?
Hmm?
or
Yeah, you have to get the permit to put that in.
They'll
we're just
need a building
approving the
permit to construct. This is just for the site plan.
This is just for the
That's
site.
right.
For the
Okay.
trail, for the
Yeah,
trail.
For the
Okay.
trail.
For the
right,
trail.
right, right.
Yeah,
So
for the
they'll
trail.
just need
Alright.
a building permit to
Don't push me
construct
against the
the
wall.
actual.
Yeah, the
Okay.
building permit.
Well, you're talking about details here, so
I know.
I'm like, wait a minute, am I approved?
No,
No one pull in for the whole
Just
trail?
just the site plan on the trail.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's his thing, though, yeah.
That's me, sorry. But, thank you. So,
Thank you, Mr. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Burns.
Yeah, just a question. Walking that trail, when we had our site inspection, there were retaining walls. Are those retaining walls going to be used, reused, repaired?
Stays where it is.
But no work is envisioned on
No,
those?
we're staying off of it about 1.5 feet.
Okay.
And we're building our book. We were trying to do the least impact possible down that very steep gravel driveway.
Okay, let me rephrase the question slightly. Do you have any concerns about the stability and long-term life of those retaining walls adjacent to this new construction?
Possibly, but I don't think we're not gonna damage it when we build our boardwalk.
Okay.
Yeah, the maintenance in the future, if it needs repaired, I don't know. I mean,
All right,
I've
thank
been
you.
there a while now, so,
are you worried about Washington Gas?
Other questions or
no
comments?
gas service down this way.
If no other questions or comments, I would entertain a motion on the site plan recommendation. Mr. Daniel. Mr. Plumpy deferred to you.
Oh, he did.
He did.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I move that the ARB recommend approval of action item ARB 2025 MV 00051, 7931 East Boulevard Drive, Alexandria, in the Wellington at River Farm Historic Overlay District, with the proposed site improvements as submitted and presented at the October 9th, 2025 ARB meeting. Upon the review of materials, the proposal is found to meet the requirements of zoning ordinance 3101 Historic Overlay District.
Is there a second? Mr. Plumpy seconds. Sorry. Okay, next time. Yes, Mr. Burns.
A question. These approvals tonight don't have the phrase we've been putting in about any changes need to come back.
Yeah, and I noticed that, one of them does, and I don't know what,
I thought it was
and I
a-
apologize, I do not know what happened.
recommendation.
I said mine did.
I missed,
Well, I don't know. I just want to make sure we're not dropping that.
I think it's copy pasted.
No, yeah.
You can propose a friendly amendment, Mr. Burns.
Do we have it in one of these? And I could,
I think it's the first one, because I remember
you
reading
could take
it.
it from this one. Right here.
Yeah, number one, change to.
Okay. May I make a motion for a friendly amendment?
Yes, sir.
That the seconded motion be changed that to include this phrase: the applicant must request an amendment from the ARB for any proposed changes to ARB 2025 MV 00051 as approved at the October 9th, 2025 meeting.
Is that acceptable to the mover?
Yes.
Is that acceptable to the seconder?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that is now the motion that is on the table. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Ms. Taylor, thank you. That brings us into the building improvement project portion.
And we do have our architect here, so we'll turn the floor over to him. And hopefully you all were able to review the architectural plans, the drawings also.
We do not have a presentation sort of developed, but we presented the working drawings that we're preparing for building permit. And, with this approval, the intent was to submit for building permit. I know that Mark was here a couple of months ago, correct?
And actually, if you go to the images prior to this, I think this is what we had shared.
Correct.
This is what we had shared with you all previously.
No, this is fine. So I'll do the backstory. Existing garage, renovating it as part of that accessibility upgrade to create some bathrooms.
Can you actually go back?
Toilet rooms.
Maybe keep going. 2 more.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep, so there you go, back one more. So this is the existing facilities used for storage right now, completely inaccessible. When they have events, they need to bring in facilities, and so we're just making those facilities permanent and accessible for daily use for folks that are coming out here. So renovating that area, a couple of, if you go to the next slide, this is what was presented, replacing the windows, replacing the roof materials. And if you just keep going, so that is basically the essential work at that part of the facility. And if you keep going a couple more slides, you see this is the carriage house, thank you. Existing offices on the second floor, basically turning them into flex space. You see the blue outline area, that's an existing, very contemporary kind of looking outdoor covered walk on the second floor. Removing that to make the multi-use space better, more usable for more things. And again, so that's the sort of the major renovation. And then in the middle there, you see a couple of toilet rooms that are going in. And I think that was a part of your discussion the other day, the idea of the Bromley dormer. So that's been implemented and executed. And if,
Go to the next slide. I think it has an image of that. Yeah, you can see.
Yeah, you've seen it at the top there. The 2 panels on both sides are shingles. That's a synthetic slate product, and to sort of try to get that to blend away. I think that was part of the discussion that you guys had. We have lots of materials over here. If you want me to go through all of them, I'm happy to. But that's it in a nutshell.
We saw the dormer previously.
We had presented that at the previous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's pretty cool. A while ago.
Okay, I don't know if I was.
Okay, any members of the public that wish to comment
That's the
on
man
this
that
one?
calls it. I'm kidding.
All right, I'll take any questions or comments from board members. Now we are on the building improvement project portion. Ms. Hammock.
Okay, I have a question for Denise. Is the garage a contributing resource to the district? Because I don't see it in the guidelines.
Hang on.
As called out, whereas I see the carriage house. And anyway, so that's something I'd like confirmed. Are you proposing casements in your new dormer or double hungs? Because currently on the building, based on your photographs, the dormers at the building currently, some have casements and some have double hungs. So what are you proposing in your new dormer?
Everything, I believe, is switched to the French casement.
Okay, because it's drawn as a double hung in your little pop-out drawing, and it's drawn as double hungs in your.
Oh, the prop-up drawing in the upper left-hand corner is purely just the Bromley
Okay.
dormer
So I think
concept.
they're
So
drawn.
all the windows, yeah, if you go, the working drawings,
You go to the actual, so the details of what would actually be
yeah,
constructed
if
are.
you jump to the
Yeah, this is
construction
just-
drawings, we have all of our windows on sheet number A6.1.
Oh, I see. That was just an example.
Yeah,
of
that was what we had shown at the previous,
Okay.
and kind of just giving you an update, or,
That's great, because I think that, as you're showing, is exactly what I think this should be. I'm looking at the design guidelines, and it says that this building was built in stages in the 1920s and the 1930s. I believe I saw a note on one of your drawings saying that you had alternative roofing materials. You said, so currently it's asphalt shingle, and you're going to clad the dormer in asphalt shingle. I think.
No, the dormer, no. The carriage house is a synthetic slate, which is your synthetic
I
slate.
don't think it was slate historically. I mean, do you have any, like, what's informing your decision to do faux slate? Is there slate currently on the building?
No, I
If
think
I may,
Sure.
the main house has slate.
Yeah, but this is like a outbuilding.
And at the last meeting, or maybe in the in-person meeting, it was recommended that that is a complementary building to the main house, and we should replicate the slate. However, the garage doesn't complement the house as much. I remember that comment. I don't know, again, if it was here, but that was based on the recommendation.
I think, I'm sorry, I don't know if I was at that meeting. I'm not sure if standing seam isn't more appropriate just based on the typology of the building and the date. So maybe the board has some thoughts on that.
right now, the building,
I
don't know, I think.
I'm gonna recognize Mr. Daniel. Before I do, I'm gonna recognize myself, because, which I rarely do, but hey, look at me. But I do recall at the site visit that comment was made about the slate on the main house and matching.
And the garage, the standing seam.
Yeah, I do recall that
Say that
comment.
again, I'm sorry.
I was just saying, I was at the site visit. I do recall the suggestion being made of the slate being on the main house and that matching the carriage house and then the garage being treated
Okay.
separately.
And
I do recall that.
The garage is contributing, it's just the photo in the design guidelines is of a different.
It's the north garage.
A different garage, but yes, and they date from the 50s.
Mr. Daniel.
So I didn't go to the site visit,
Yeah,
but
that's
I
what
also
I'm
brought up the question about the roofing material at the last meeting. So I was the one who at the meeting brought up the questions of roofing materials. So I remember bringing this up, asking about these different ones, both the garage and the carriage house. And I think there was discussion there. I can't remember if you were there or not, Gabrielle.
I wasn't, sorry
guess
about
not.
that.
But, so I was more okay with the faux slate on the carriage house. What I do have questions about was actually the plan suggesting that there are alternatives, because that sounds like the board would be granting approval for secondary alternatives, or are we approving these? Because there's comments in the plan set that say, hey, here's the material, but here's alternatives. I would be recommending approval for exactly the material proposed now, and not a revision and change later. It would, hence why we would have that item in the any motion if that could come back. So I just want to make it very clear that if the bidding process changes and something like, hey, we're going to switch this material for the garage, you know, I like the selections currently as they stand. After I got a better understanding of the site, having seen it, just not seeing it in the special visit, I was incognito. I think it's okay. I think it's the carriage house, its design and its, even though it was built in phases and its proximity to the main house, I think the level of comfort works for me. I don't think you're ever going to pick an ideal material just given the way that structure was constructed. You're never going to get a cage. But
I just had to rip off the Band-Aid.
so that was my only
So
comment
the
there.
alternate material question had to do with the carriage house, or excuse me, had to do with the, let's get backwards, the south garage building, not the carriage house. The carriage house was proposed slate, that's it, that's what's proposed. Actually, from an aesthetic, just from a subjective aesthetic point of view, there's a garden on the backside of that this roof is very visible. I think that I personally like that as a material better when you're in that environment that's self-contained, that brings the scale down. It's individual pieces, it just feels more human. And then we're not actually proposing this bent metal. This is just what the manufacturer could get to us in the time frame. But the where the bathrooms are, standing seam, the alternate was this corrugated, or another slightly deeper corrugated. Again, if the idea being that if the standing seam, I guess if it prices out too high, if this is also an acceptable, if it's an either or situation, we'd like either or approved, and then we can make that call, and it's not upsetting anybody, and that's it.
And are we not dealing with the gate tonight? Are we just dealing with the carriage house and the garage, or are we dealing with the gate as well?
We had some example of gates on our plan.
Yeah. I just didn't know. I'm fine if we are. I
It's
just,
not part of ours.
Let me come back for the gate and everything later.
okay.
We intend to get the gate
Approved by
concept approved by the park authority.
Yeah.
And then hopefully it's something.
Yeah, okay. I
You
just,
need a building permit though. for the gate.
Yeah, you do. You'll need a permit for the
So then
gate.
we would come back
Yeah,
Because we're gonna have
after.
piers and gates.
I just wanted to make sure that we were
Right.
dealing with we're dealing with the south garage and the carriage
Yeah,
house.
because they'll come back with the
Building
gate
permit
and the
for
boardwalk,
anything related
final
to the
design,
site
and
plan.
the railing.
We would have to come back anyway, so at that point, and then at that point, hopefully we've had the
National Park
NPS
Service,
discussion,
you've
that
heard,
will
yeah.
dictate- That will also dictate the design.
Ms.
Jason,
May.
they'll be coming back for the gate and the
And the-
boardwalk. So.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
And just on the subject of the roofing material for the south garage, at one point, there was consideration, I think, of demolishing the tenant house, but that has been removed from the
yes,
scope of
that's-
work.
Yeah.
I just wondered whether there's any logic to, if the tenant house is staying for now, that looks to be a standing seam metal
Correct.
roof?
Yeah.
Is there any interest in, because those are kind of catty corner from each other, aren't they?
No,
No?
the tenant houses.
Farther away, okay.
But we don't have a problem with the standing seam.
Right.
That would complement that house that is
That
in
would-
disrepair. but-
And I think that's why the standing seam idea was brought up the last time, but
Yeah.
if there seems to be some flexibility on it, that was just the meet in the middle and match something that's already on site, but,
Correct.
okay.
And we're fine with that.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Mr. Dan.
So the bottom one is the one, which,
Alternative.
so I got the slate I figured out. I probably would love to just see it, because it's synthetic slate.
Make sure we.
Get rid of the
Yeah.
slate.
We're done with the.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're not going out and harvesting Buckingham from some building somewhere.
Color samples.
But I just wanted, since you brought the samples, I figured we should see them.
We've got the samples and some color. This is the Galvaloon color, and this was the, what's it, Hunter green? Hartford green.
Do you want?
Yeah,
to
send them a row. Brought samples, why not?
Don't cut yourself.
Yeah.
Well, no, then I can see the county.
That'll go about as well as our.
Well,
So we're highly compensated.
So you guys
But
are doing this.
the corrugated one you brought that is an alternative, that you're like, if this doesn't,
That's for the chicken.
but if this doesn't work, that would be the other one you were looking at.
Alternative.
At least by name.
So this
upper
is
left,
It is sharp.
upper left-hand corner.
Upper left hand,
upper
The
left.
flat, the
flat.
flat.
yeah.
Got it.
You hauled it out here. I saw you bring it in. Don't feel very,
Yeah, you did.
but you haven't picked the color yet either.
Dark green, right?
Correct, it was dark green, I think, was the primary one, and then the galvalume was the alternate.
Okay.
And then you are still doing the gutters. I couldn't see on one of the details, but Mr. told me, you have gutters on everything, right?
I believe so, they're half rounds, and we're.
Yes, they are pre-finished aluminum half round gutters.
Color?
Green.
The
Green?
The green.
The green, it's right there.
I believe. Yeah, we hadn't, I don't think we picked a color for the gutters.
Okay, that was my,
Thank you, Mr. Dan.
thank you for bringing those in.
Any other questions or comments from board members? Mr. Kalinsky.
Not looking to open it or start, but the Bromley dormer works best when the siding of the Bromley dormer matches the roof. And now all the more reason that the most appropriate material is the faux slate in this case. For there, it'll make the Bromley dormer essentially disappear. So, I just overall, I think this is very well handled.
Oh, yeah, it's really great.
The color selections and details are really solid. It's a good project.
Yeah, I can't wait to use the restroom.
We could take a 5-minute break. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, if not, I would entertain a motion. Mr. Daniel.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I don't recommend. Mr. Chairman, I move that the ARB recommend approval of action item. No, sorry. I knew I was doing this wrong. Mr. Chairman, I move that the ARB approve action item ARB 2025 MB00052 for 7931 East Boulevard Drive, Alexandria, in the Wellington at River Farm Historic Overlay District for the proposed building modifications as submitted and presented at the October 9th, 2025 ARB meeting. The applicant must request an amendment from the ARB for any proposed changes to ARB 2025 MB00052 as approved at the ARB. As approved at the October meeting. Upon review of the materials, the proposal is found to meet the requirements of zoning ordinance 3101 Historic Overlay District.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Burns.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you all.
so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Great job.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us into our items for workshop session, of which we have one. The first one is ARB WK 2025 MV 000229517 Workhouse Way and Lorton, in the Lorton Laurel Hill MOA eligible district. Application is proposing artificial turf in an exhaustive event in 9517 Workhouse Way that would match 9514 Workhouse Way. Sir, how are you?
Oh, good. How are you? So this is my first ARB meeting, so thank you very much for having me here. So my name is Sean Hunt. I'm one of the owners of Drink Local, the applicant. Drink Local just recently entered into a lease with Fairfax County for the facility at this address. It's within the Lorton Workhouse, and so the building that we just entered into a lease is commonly referred to as W15. The next slide just gives you context for where the building is located. The left overlay is a blown out image of the location. On the right-hand side, there's the one square that contains the workhouse, which is number 2. And it's just a blown-out version of it. W15 is in the very front of the workhouse up on the right-hand side. So we actually are currently the lessor or lessees of W13. W15 is just the new building that we entered into a lease with. A couple of things here. So on the very front, you'll see Ox Road. And then in the very front, on the left-hand side is W13, and on the right is W15. So those are the two buildings that we will be the lessees for. If I could just point out a couple of other buildings, because it'll come up later in the slides. So on the left-hand side, in the purple buildings, the second from the top is W8. And then the large brown building at the very end of the quad, that's W1. And so just pointing that out now because it'll come up in a couple of slides. Just a really quick, and this is just a different view of the two facilities, so this is almost flip-flop now. W13 is on the right, W15 is on the left, and essentially the buildings are mirror images of one another. If I could go to the next slide. So I mentioned W1 and W8 on that slide a couple of points ago. We have two proposals before you. So the first proposal are exhaust vents, exhaust vent hoods, and then the second proposal is artificial turf. And what this shows are just examples of the existing exhaust vent hoods on W1 and W8. We can go to the next slide. Both of these proposals, the exhaust vent hood and then the artificial turf, we have existing approvals for. In W13, and what we're proposing is just the mirror image on W15. So on the left-hand side, that is the existing exhaust vent hood that we installed after we received approval. And then on the right, and again, these buildings are mirror images of one another. So what we would be proposing is to put the exhaust vent hood, and essentially the mirror image location on W15 is on W13. So this is just a different view. So this is so south to north, and it's just a different elevation view. So next slide. So just to point out what the alternative may be. So right now we're proposing to install the exhaust vent hoods on the side of the building. From what we understand by code, if we were to try to install these exhaust vent hoods now on the top of the building, what we would need is additional structure, by code that we would have to install. And the last slide for this portion of the proposal is just just the specs for the item that we're installing. If I could go to the next slide. So I mentioned that we have two proposals. So the first is the exhaust vent hood, and the second is artificial turf. This is all from W13. So on the right-hand side, we initially had grass on in front of the building, at the entrance of the building. And this is what it looked like within a couple of weeks after we opened up. After a couple of weeks, we wound up installing artificial turf, and it's held up great, and it looks really great. So just a kind of a before and after picture. So this now takes W13 as it exists right now with the artificial turf, and it shows W15 before any use of the, that same area. But this is just a mirror image, and ultimately what we're proposing is that we put artificial turf in place of the grass. The turf specifications. And then this last slide just truly, points out that these buildings are mirror images of one another. On the right-hand side, the orange, that's turf that currently exists in W13, and on the left, that's the turf that we're proposing to install.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hunt. Board members, questions and comments, recommendations?
Yes, we hashed the first round out pretty well. I don't know that there are many better alternatives than what we came up with regards to the ventilation. So it would be even more awkward to come up with a different alternative. So I think it just kind of makes sense to
mirror,
reinforce what we've done and mirror it, yeah.
I still remember, I think someone called it a rocket booster, and I just feel like we're putting another rocket booster on the other side. I mean, I agree though.
A
It does.
reversible rocket
Yes,
booster.
no, I agree. Doing something on the roof would be far more intrusive, and now would look completely, would be less consistent.
Not compatible.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Mr. Plumpy.
I was gonna say, just to tag on with what he said, is that the synthetic turf is holding up well. I was out there and helped them select it and so forth. It's the right thing to do because it's a mud hole without it. And I would propose that they just stick with the same thing. It's they're right after the same use, almost the same uses. And I guess I noticed that you did put string lights on the previous one, which was not approved from us, but it'd be good maybe when you come back is maybe to show your string lights that you want to put out there.
Okay.
And my only concern with them right now, they have a sag to them. They're kind of like, I should say jury-rigged, but they could be installed a little bit more tighter and taut.
So for instance, with guy wires?
Yeah, instead of just right out of the box, I think, let's do it professionally. This is our front door here.
Yep.
So I think it's better, and maybe if we approve that on the proposed building, is that maybe we can have worked into that, maybe a presentation that you'll remedy the first building to match what you're doing on the second one with the string lights.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Kalinsky.
Just on the W15 building, the two pictures showing 13 and 15. There are two trees in the W15 building.
Yeah, they get moved.
What's the plan for the two trees that are there?
So I honestly don't, so where are they?
Oh, can I answer?
Right there.
Oh, I see. I don't know. I don't think that they're intended to stay. Are you?
Yeah, I was on site when they did the other ones too, so they just put them adjacent across the sidewalk. So the two trees will remain on site, but in different locations, very close to the building. So, because for usability and so forth, they have to grade that out for the synthetic turf. So, and it works fine. It seems they're the species that will not compete with what was proposed on the other part of the lot close by. So it's right. And in fact, the trees that on the upper left-hand photograph, they're off your left shoulder. That's out of the picture. So along 123. That's all good. That one's a cherry tree and a European hornbeam. I think a Shino cherry and a European hornbeam. All right.
Well, I was going to say, I've driven by the past couple weekends and it looks very busy and I'm happy to see people out at the site. So that's a great thing.
Appreciate that.
Mr. Burns.
Yeah, could you put off next to the last slide in that deck? I think it was the plans that showed the location. Yeah. Okay, that appears to show that your turf goes across the entrance.
That's the service back door.
You're on the side of Ox Road?
Oh, okay, so Ox Road is up here.
So that is the service entrance in the back.
So Ox Road is at the bottom of that drawing.
No, where Mountain Way is, so the quad is planned south, which is off the sheet.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Right.
That's what you mentioned. You're the buddy.
Now, I remember a comment I made previously is that the side of the building with the fire escape that's right against the drive that goes past there, it was just mud and debris and stuff like that. Are you proposing turf there, or are you proposing artificial, how is that being treated? How will that be treated in the new building?
So I think you may see, if we go back to the turf drawing or the turf picture for W13. So this is going to go back on there. And you probably can't see it. On the other side of that portico is not turf. And I think that's where you're talking about. So what's...
Now as it extends, the sidewalk goes past where the fire escape comes down. Right. That's just like a no man's land. It's like, looks like nothing would grow there or yeah. So
but it also doesn't get
no, I'm just asking, how are you treating that? Because that's essentially one of your primary access points from the parking lots to the side. People walk right by that.
There's when you're walking, so if this is W13. This would be a walkway, and then a walkway into the portico and an entrance into the building. And it's just a very small amount of natural grass here.
There isn't a big fire escape like there is on the other side on this one.
Would it be possible for you to come back to also address that? The string lights, maybe address that as like a more maintenance and more permanent solution for those two fire escape areas.
Yeah, at least when you come back to the full application, I think it would be really helpful to have pictures that were a little further back showing like
Existing conditions.
the existing conditions for the, for W13, but then also existing conditions for W15, because it kind of gives us because this is already very helpful to show, what is there and what you've done there.
Yep.
But, because those are some of the angles that you only see when you're actually walking up there at the site.
Right.
Mr. Burns.
And then following up on Mr. Daniel's comment, is there not a second floor fire escape on 15?
There is a second floor fire escape on 15.
There is, okay.
There is.
Right.
Okay.
So again, the treatment would be nice if we were consistent for both buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Any other questions or comments on this?
The only other, this is a comment more than anything else, is having been there in the summer, it's beastly hot where there's no shade.
It is, yeah.
And so that, I was on the other side of the walkway that you just barely see here. There is some shade there, but there's no shade other than your umbrellas.
So that's why you're drinking beer, it keeps you cool.
And board members, is when I was out there too, I said the same thing, and I said that maybe there's a more permanent solution with shade sails that are, basically umbrella fabric, which is stretched across that shade, the synthetic turf area on a flat plane versus the umbrella tops.
Yeah.
I think that'd go a long ways.
Okay.
Maybe want to consider that. Maybe come back. I know it's more money, but you're making money left and right. So I think it'd be great if you could. So we got the fire escape issue, the shade shack, and then also the what's the other one?
The lighting?
Oh, the lighting. Thank you. Yeah, the string lights. So if those remedies, because it can only make it more comfortable for people to sit out there, and I think you'll be happy.
We agree. Yep.
Mr. Kalinsky.
Just curious, can you tell us what sort of place is going to be operating here?
Yeah, so right now, so we're not completely positive, but we think we're pretty close. We have just a couple of, I think we have a couple of steps before we commit to it. We're going to have the top floor be mostly event space. So right now we have, maybe 10 event requests per, 2 days, at the existing facility. We just don't have the room for it. So what we're hoping to do is start to dedicate the top floor for, private events. On the bottom floor, it's going to probably be pizza. And it's going to round out the food, because now what we have is limited food in W13. What the county is hoping for is
more food.
So the two buildings will work in tandem, essentially.
They will. They're contiguous, and so all the space in between is going to connect. And one of the reasons why we're so interested in doing this was to do that. Right, make it, instead of having a disjointed area out in front where we have two different operators and then try to hold events and try to make it contiguous, we wanted to lease the building for that purpose.
And then when do you expect this lease to happen? You think next year or sometime?
No, now. So
you're going to build out now?
We're going to start the build out very soon.
Wow.
You need a reason.
Yeah.
It's so warm with the weather. I'm just saying, construction can continue the way the weather's going.
And not only that, it's the outdoor area we really want to have open by the springtime. So we can have the outdoor open by the springtime. But
Yeah.
That's really good.
We're hoping for kind of a late spring, early summer open.
Yes, ma'am.
I just had one quick thought, because it's like the first crisp, cool night. So I'm thinking about the opposite season where you want to extend the outdoor usability. I'm not even sure that this is allowed, but I was just thinking, are fire pits ever a thought in this area, or is that not allowed in close proximity?
That's proposed fire next to historic.
Well,
the
That's the fire board.
Fire. Go ahead.
So.
They got parts.
I think for code, they have to be at least 50 feet from a combustible structure. So you could put fire pits out there, natural gas you got out there. I think it's 123. I think it'd be fantastic.
I just, looking at the picnic tables and knowing how popular, I
The
was
sounds
thinking.
of chains for authenticity.
We have commerce board or
And
architecture
controlled
board?
fire, where you can turn it off, but
High liability.
it was just my concern of thinking you've got this meltable surface out there if you decide to introduce like a feature or something like that. That was all. I didn't even know if that would be a possibility, but I was like, this would be a lovely night to sit out and drink a beer in front of, around the fire pit. And I wouldn't want you to, because the turf costs were
Very high.
very high, and so to put in something that later isn't workable with an addition you want to make, that's what I was thinking about, so.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I hope we gave you good feedback, and we look forward to you coming back.
Very, yeah.
Yeah, maybe we could have one of our meetings there.
I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah, we would love to.
County attorney would have a problem with that problem.
Really?
Give it Denise first.
Yeah, that's what she used to do.
All right, so that brings us into presentations. We have one presentation, and that is the Centerville Plan Amendment presentation. You're right behind it. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Denise, like just log into
Just log into the meeting.
Let's take a nap over here. Let's take a nap.
Jonathan gets a break.
I mean, I felt fine after eating
I
them.
also have not had dinner, so.
Steve was late, he was the one who was supposed to bring us back.
Bring in our extra.
It's so funny
Halloween
you said
candy.
that, 'cause I was thinking about that. There's one pile of them, so there's one right by my house.
Anybody's name as a presenter because I wasn't sure who was going to be here, so you all might want to introduce yourself.
We certainly will. Just need to figure out how to get to.
Everything used to be 2 months. Right, the cost of candy or whatever. Never work. Oh my gosh, I know. It's crazy. He's like, let's use this conversation.
Apologies for my delay. It's good to see you all again. Maybe you remember me, perhaps not. But I'm Michael Burton. I'm with the Department of Planning and Development. I'm joined this evening by Clara Johnson. And we're here to talk to you all about Centerville some more. Hopefully that excites you. The task force, if you all can remember, the Centerville Planning Study was authorized in 2022. It has a community task force that was appointed by the Sully District Magisterial Office. And that group has been working for the past year and a half in helping us think about new ideas for the Centerville community. We're really trying to encourage the right type of growth in Centerville in the future. Most of the development that exists today in Centerville is up to plan capacity. So we're trying to think about what the next 20 to 30 years might look like. The current plan has not been updated in about 30 years. And so now we thought this would be an opportunity. Since we last had an opportunity to speak with you all, the task force has had a number of discussions about placemaking and orienting or thinking about how design can improve or impact the space. We've had the opportunity to create what we call a draft development scenario. That's a fancy way of just saying how much development we expect to see in a particular area. So our scenario calls out the types of uses that we want to see, residential, commercial, et cetera, and then some total amount. And then we've been hard at work putting together draft plan recommendations. We took that draft scenario, we shared it with other agencies, parks, schools, public safety, and then they provided feedback to us, and we've been using that as the basis for creating drafts and draft plan language. So that's a little bit about where we are today. I believe I shared this with you all previously. There are a series of draft guiding principles that our task force helped to put together. I won't go through them in detail, but I'll briefly read the highlights. Provide a variety of accessible public spaces, valuing and developing diverse spaces. Centerville is a very diverse community. Promote environmental sustainability. Develop a vibrant town center with a mix of housing and commercial uses. We'll talk a little bit about that later in the presentation. meet a continuum of housing needs in the area, provide a safe multimodal transportation network. If you're not familiar with Centerville, it's a crossroads. There are three major arterials that crisscross the area: Route 28, Route 29, and Interstate 66. Provide for a variety of accessible community institutional spaces, and last but certainly not least, continue to identify, foster, and celebrate and preserve the historical and cultural sites in the community. So just to quickly orient you, I know it's really hard to see from this distance, but the area that you see bounded is the Centerville study area. That's a planned geography. If you ask anyone in the area, Centerville is much broader than that. But this is the planned geography that the board asked us to take a look at. You can see in the center, hopefully my cursor here, that is Route 29 and Route 28 interchange. And there are a number of commercial properties around that exist today. In our conversation with the task force and via a broader community workshop, we identified these locations as opportunity areas, places in the community where we're going to encourage new planned growth. The color that's highlighted in green, I did that deliberately. That's not necessarily an opportunity area, but that is where the Centerville HOD is sort of centered around. So I wanted to acknowledge its location there. And then I have a map here. This is the boundary of the total of the entire Centerville Historic Overlay District. The area that we wanted to talk to you all about tonight is subunit B5. It's in the southern sort of portion of the HOD. And right now it's characterized by a number of commercial uses. You can see them here. The buildings are outlined in red. The orange or yellowish boundary is the land unit. That's land unit B5. And then the white dashed line that you can maybe barely see across the top, that's the general extent of the Centerville HOD. And that HOD extends all the way south to Highway 29. Characterized by mostly automobile-oriented commercial uses. There are a few institutional uses. I feel like I need to walk up to the screen for some reason. But there's a church here, and there are a number of historical resources that have been identified in the area, including a home here and Gyra Cafe.
Oh, that cafe is fantastic.
It's amazing, yes, if you haven't had it.
Anytime you stop in Centerville, it's a Gyra Cafe.
Gyra, yeah.
A Korean bakery.
Yes.
The very, very big Korean population in Centerville.
Yes, absolutely. And we had an opportunity to really engage with a number of folks in the Korean community as well to get some feedback. So it was really awesome and helpful. Some of the broader study goals that the group has, again, identified, and this goes back to those guiding principles that I shared, really creating a sense of place. There is a really big desire to have a gathering space, a place where people can come together in Centerville. Right now, as I mentioned before, it's predominantly automobile oriented, a lot of surface parking lots. And I think this community, at least the residents that we've talked to, are really interested in creating a place that's attractive and that brings in not only residents, but visitors into the community. There's also been an expressed desire to continue to improve upon and enhance the archaeological and heritage resource features in the Centerville HOD. Currently, a lot of the space in the HOD is maintained by, well, maintained might be a strong word, but it's owned by the Park Authority. And there are questions about the ability to maintain some of the spaces that are under the Park Authority's ownership there. And so there's just a desire to see more activation of that space, bringing people in, park spaces specifically. And then there's this desire to see new redevelopment that speaks to the goals that the community had identified before. Generally, we've been talking about mixed-use development, so creating those sort of walkable places where you have a range of uses in a space. People can leave their car, walk to get coffee, for example, but also stay and visit a park or some other amenities. So in thinking about the redevelopment potential of this area, there are, as I mentioned before, a number of commercial areas that line or that are within subunit B5. But where we really focused our attention is on the corner closest to Pickwick and Highway 29. This area, we think, forms the best opportunity for some level of redevelopment for a couple of reasons. One, there are contiguous parcels in the area, so it I think, lends itself to consolidation that will allow us to help us achieve some of the planned goals. Access both towards Pickwick and Highway 29 is also a plus. And then there's a really strong relationship with the areas that have been protected by the HOD. So that sort of forested area that's to the north, an area, again, that folks would like to see activated a bit more. Most of the, or a couple of the heritage resources sites that we have listed there, again, Gyra Cafe, we would anticipate protecting. It's something that we want to continue to see in the area, but we're trying to think about how best to design around some of these spaces. And that's part of what we're here to talk to you all tonight about, is some of the design ideas that we need to consider when thinking about redevelopment, specifically within this land unit, in this general area. There we go. So this is the draft scenario that I mentioned before. This is the quantification piece. You don't have to read all of the numbers. If you pay attention to what's highlighted in blue, there's a modest amount of retail and office space that we're continuing to encourage within the subunit. It's less than what is currently planned there today. We have about almost 400,000 square feet of commercial use that's planned there today. And we've dropped that down to about 100,000 square feet. In lieu of that commercial use, we are introducing residential use to the site to allow for that mixed use environment that we've sort of talked about. As part of this study, we specifically identified multifamily as the residential use type, in part because of the impacts that it occurs. In any of our processes, we want to understand what the maximum impact would be. It doesn't hinder us or preclude us from thinking about other residential types, townhomes, 2/2s, triplexes, et cetera. But for the purpose of our evaluation, we focused on multifamily units. And so in thinking about multifamily on this site, I'm going to jump forward here. There are a range of goals, I would say, that we are working hard to try to balance. Currently, there are design guidelines for the Centerville HOD. It speaks to a number of things, such as the building footprints, maintaining open spaces, preserving the visual and historic character of the area. And there's a note about, to the extent possible, not expanding the transportation network, or at the very least, expanding the transportation network in a way that doesn't damage or hinder the archaeological features that are located in the Centerville HOD. Yeah, I think that's all we have to do. Let me jump back really quickly, I'm sorry. As far as the community planning goals, I've already spoken to those, so I won't repeat them. The goal is, again, to create a walkable area within the Centerville HOD. There are not currently a lot of sidewalks or places where people can go. That is intentional. That is a part of the current design guidelines for the HOD, which is to minimize the use of sidewalks. There are, I guess I would say, there have been instances, recent development projects, where sidewalks have been encouraged in the area. But as a general sort of guideline within the Centerville design guidelines, I'm using the word over and over, new pedestrian facilities are not encouraged. So that brings us to the goal of needing to wrestle with how do we introduce new types of development into the area, specifically the commercial areas that are currently out of character with the sort of rural, suburban, or the rural nature of the adjacent HOD.
When you say guidelines, you're referring to the 92 guidelines, correct?
Were they in 92?
So,
yes.
Also encouraging dirt roads.
Well, so the reason I asked that is I want to clarify, because while we don't have our new guidelines yet, there are extensively better guidelines for Centerville. Well, for the overall HODs that obviously are not fully approved yet, but I hope that has been one thing that's been factored in, or at least hopefully Heritage has been helping provide that input on that, because the 92 HOD guidelines are thin.
Yeah. I think so. I know that we're working on updating the design guidelines. I think the document that we've been working from are the adopted guidelines today. And so we just want to be sensitive to meeting the intent of those guidelines as well as trying to achieve some of the plan goals.
And the lot,
Sorry, and Centerville actually has slightly newer guidelines.
Yes, they do.
Because,
Yeah, yes.
but
They're
it still
not-
has the overarching 92 guidelines that sit on top of it.
So, when was the I think it was late 90s that they, that the center.
Yeah, but there's the central guidelines packet still dates through 92.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, let's not even go there, sorry. We need our new guidelines approved at some point. You can't do that, obviously.
2010.
But what?
2010. The expansion was in 2007 and the design guidelines were adopted in 2010.
Which replaced 1992,
Which, well, I don't know. I can't say that. Can't speak to that because
The Centerville one didn't exist back then, so it wasn't. Before that, in 92.
It was the right. So in 2007, it was expanded, and then in 2010, the guidelines were adopted. But that 2007 just expanded so it did exist before.
Okay, you're right, yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
No.
I don't mean to interrupt you at this later.
Not at all. Good discussion.
Wait, I'm sorry, Rachel.
well, just the question of what was the logic behind no sidewalks or limited sidewalks?
Rural
environment.
environment.
Yeah,
So
where
the goal-
sidewalks are.
You would have taken your horse down the crossroads of
Yeah,
Centerville,
okay.
hitched it to a pole,
Yeah.
shot a man at the bakery, and
No,
then
we
moved
dealt
across
with
the
this
street.
in a bucolic setting along
Yeah.
Rock Creek Park. And the challenge but on one side of the park is houses, and you want modern amenities for the people who live in those houses and safety features and things like that, but you're facing this really, heavily wooded, very rusticated architectural, so how to.
It's also a complicated agency because it's one of the few other ones that has an archaeological component to it that is difficult to design around too.
Yeah.
What it's, Mount Ayr is the only other one, and that's a ruin, and it's got, we just built around it, so.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. So I just wanted to quickly highlight some of those identified features in the historic overlay district, both historic and contributing properties. The blue bounded area is sort of our focus area. It mostly follows the existing parcels on the site. I'm going to walk up to the screen again. These parcels here are owned by the Park Authority, so they're largely untouched. The 3 parcels that you see here are all owned by the same family. And so the task force has, at least 1 or 2 task force members has asked us to think about this property. We've also been trying to think about how a road network, sort of a mini grid of streets, if you would provide additional access. There's already an existing road here that we've been thinking about pulling over into the site to create the sort of blocks for development. And we'll get to this here in a second, but there needs to be a consideration of the relationship between the development that we would encourage here and of course the protected resources that are identified here. Here's Dyra Cafe at number 25, and there are a number of other features in the area. And then the next slide just really shows, again, the automobile-oriented character. You can see also the south side of Highway 29. That's also an area where we are encouraging redevelopment within Centerville, again, mixed-use development. The intensities for, I think, the south side of Highway 29 would be much higher, but whatever happens on the north side, which is within the HOD, would need to complement or ideally complement the development that happens on the other side of the street in some way. You can kind of see here, just as a quick note, this was the old Brackett Road. This is Mountain View. It used to be Centerville Elementary School. Now it's Mountainville Alternative High School. But you can kind of see the remnants of the old road network. There's a new street that now comes in and kind of just bends awkwardly since this area was developed. And so thinking about how we can bridge those connections in an appropriate way is something that staff is also working on. So these are the questions. The reason that we're here before you tonight is to solicit your feedback, your thoughts about the types of design considerations that we need to be thinking about as we're writing policy for redevelopment in the Centerville HOD. If redevelopment is an option, what are the design treatments that should be considered? What types of design considerations should we consider? How can we improve on what's there now and enhance the edge of the HOD? And how can redevelopment at this location contribute to and welcome people into the HOD? How does it connect to or have a relationship with the resources that are located adjacent to it? Any new redevelopment that obviously occurs in this area will need to come back before you all. So think of this as really a precursor that we will be sharing with any new developers and pointing them to the things that they need to think about before they come and talk to you early on, as early as possible. I'm going to go to the last slide really quickly, and I'll jump back and open it up for questions. Just to round things out, we are planning to finalize the report, our staff report, by Q1 of next year. The staff report, the task force's work will ideally wrap up in December of this year. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, please. And they will offer their final recommendations. And then, again, we'll have public hearings in the spring of next year. We're aiming for PC around the March timeframe and probably going to board with our recommendations in the May timeframe.
I wish you luck. The Reston Task Force met so much longer than its projected date.
There
was a child. I have a whole nother child in the time I served. So I hope you.
The chairman probably feels like he's giving birth to a child too with this.
I can safely say that our task force, I think, is ready. They're ready to wrap it up.
Okay. You won't have a task force baby then, okay? That's what they called my daughter, so she was the task force baby.
Thank you, Mr. Burton. Yeah, I want to open the floor to the board for any
Can you go back
comments, recommendations.
to the slide with the triangle that you said you wanted to focus on? Like it was one of the first slides. I like the other one where the buildings were red. Yeah.
There you go. So this one for context. Is this that, or do you want to go back
Yeah.
to
No, that's fine.
Okay.
So I'm just ignorant in this. I'm not a planner, I'm not a developer. So it's like, if we build it, they will come, you will change the framework for what's allowable, and then the developers will be incentivized to build it. That's how this works?
Yeah.
Okay. The cafe that everyone likes, is that a historic structure? Because, okay, because we can't just save like good cafes, like the big.
The cafe and the gas station on the opposite side are two
We will prepare the
structures.
national register nominations.
I guess what I would need, and maybe I can find this on my own, is like some type of timeline of the dates of, like, I need to know the historic context of the historic corridor of Centerville. Because it's probably different than the homes. The homes may be earlier if they were like farms. And then the dates of those historic, like the historic buildings that are existing, what date they come from, to be informed on how I'd want to see new buildings built. So.
Well, right now, the only two historical ones are two in the middle, right?
No, there are plenty more in the district.
I mean on this slide.
Oh, no, there are more in the
No.
HOD, but not in the parcel.
If you even took,
the same.
if you looked at historic aerial photographs, like, let's say all the buildings are gone except those two, you could still get a sense of what the historical corridor looked like at its peak. Because I'm sure it was built up and then it was torn down, right? Because of recession or whatever. Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see like what was the density of this corridor at its like peak commercial density? No, historically.
We have some historical photos, and this was truly the main street.
Yeah, you want the historic aerial would be really, which you can get online. The county has some great historic aerials.
And then 2029 was, of course, a 2-lane road, right? A highway, and then there were a few sort of commercial buildings located here, and then houses sort of sporadically dotted around the area. But this was really the heart
Okay, so maybe,
That little corner,
maybe
that
you,
little area.
the new design strengthens that corridor and reaffirms it. Like, we can't make decisions in a vacuum. So like, if we have some historic context, even if it's torn down, that's like a good argument for bringing something back. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, I mean, well, it's Jason who gets to say if you do that, not me.
Ms. Wong, did you have a comment that Mr. Plumpy?
Okay, thank you. I want to piggyback on that because while you are talking about this, you say community lacking a shared space, let's say that way, open space that everybody can share. That's how I feel about Centralville. It's every time I went there, it's just we drive through, and then there's weird feeling about that block and weird feeling about this block, and they all not put together. So when talking back about this is a very remote area way back then, Reston was like that too.
All over Northern Virginia was like that.
Right, and then there is a Lake Ann, and even though Lake Ann is tucked in the woods right now, but when people talking about Reston, we're thinking about Lake Ann. So I think piggyback on your idea that we can turn something like that with open space and not object to a high tower in the area in return of tied into a historical landmark and open space and become an iconic figure in Centralville area. So,
and that's one of the challenges is that unit type. That's one of the reasons that we're definitely here to talk to you as well, because I believe in the zoning guidelines, there's maybe it's in the zoning ordinance, there's a building height limitation of about 35 feet. And in order to provide that level of incentive to offer someone to tear down what they have today and then to try to build something new, we're going to have to think about something that may be a little more intense.
Mr. Plumpy, yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, our firm does several projects like this quite a bit. And, preserving the historical core, that's to say that crossroads, keep that as that open space. That's kind of the unique area that stays historic. And off to the right and the left is where the new development would be. Meaning, like if I'm a developer, a 3-story stick-built building, right now they're going 4 to 5 stories with either podium parking, because you're going to have parking now for 225 units. So assuming that you're going to have above grade parking somewhere, maybe it's wrapped with units, so you don't see the parking structure, right? Because they're not going to go below grade here. It's too expensive for this property value, and the market won't bear the rents for it. And so I think, you can always put in those apartments, multifamily buildings will have sometimes, if it makes sense, it's like retail on the bottom floor. So that's your mixed use you got there. So you can always, like we go to One Loudon or other places like that, Fairfax Corner even, there is places that they have offices on top of the retail or residential on top of the retail. So I think the ways to make the skin this cat so it still looks like a nice community. And the open space is there, you gotta go vertical to get your open space back. And by all means, we need sidewalks in this design. Not, when it says there's no sidewalks, encouraged. This is walkable, we want that. But gotta think, again, people still drive here no matter what, so we gotta have parking facilities either, like, again, I use Fairfax Corner as an example, different price points, so forth, but having either public parking that is in addition to the other parking for the residences, so that it can, those are hidden, but then people walk out of there and go out, just like Reston has, and so forth. This could be a dynamite place, at a crossroads, density, developers wants density, or if you wanna make this thing work, right, and not just a coffee table sketch that never gets built. I think you've got to have the density incentivized that if they can somehow architecturally step back the architecture from the smaller buildings, and it's 2 to 3-story architecture, they go up as high as 5 stories. Have our bid 7 per code they can do, including the podium structure, so 6 on top of 1. So I'd say go that tall, but you may want to say maybe you need more than 225 units because the developer now looks at a 200-unit multifamily project as one project. So it's not like 6 projects. So depends on how big he wants this to happen. and not to put everything on this parcel, but think about the other parcels too, because if you want this to be the place you want it to be, I think you're going to encourage people there to live there and spend money there and to call this home other than townhomes and apartment and single-family. You're going to need that economic driver of the larger residential buildings. We only reconsider only 225 units, that's what I'm just saying. So done.
I really am not a fan of the tall, skinny townhomes with the big garage that is the focal point. And then, pardon?
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And then the penthouse is really not set back. It's just clad in like gray and it's supposed to receive, but it doesn't. And it's like more than 10 feet ceiling height up there. So I would actually rather see like a true apartment condo building.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm kind of agreeing with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's argument like, no, let's keep it residential, but like that form that we see all in Northern Virginia, in my mind, is not residential in scale. It doesn't look like any, British townhome that I saw, from Sir whoever, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I agree that like I can see density here and I can see like a true condo building. It's kind of like a segue, and I've always wondered this, like when you introduce that many residential units, is there any communication with the schools?
Oh, 100%. So
Okay.
that's a part of the
Because
analysis.
they just redrew my school zones. And
Yes. So part of the data, the numbers that we show, we share that with schools as well, and then they give us a sense of what the impacts are going to be across the area.
Well, and the other key thing is when you do these, apartment buildings, so they're going to childcare, you're going to get a lot of amenities that are not there now from the development side.
Well, I think there's some people have told me, like when they built those towers near Tyson's, they were like, oh, this is going to be young professionals without kids. But having lived in New York and people live in apartments with kids, sometimes they share a room. Oh my God. Especially if they want to get in schools that are good or better than where they're moving from. So I think we should, when you plan for these units, like it's not just going to be like a young man and woman, or couple that choose not to have kids.
Well, essentially, most of these apartments, we do a lot of these things that I'd say probably more than 60% are work home people, work from home virtually, and they go to an office. So, because right now they're all designed to have a home office in your apartment. So, 2 bedrooms there. Sorry.
Mr. Burns and then Mr. Daniel.
I think then it's Bango?
Yeah. No, I asked.
I live on another U.S. route, and it's being redeveloped to develop commercial and residential, this, that, and the other thing. And what you get is these podium buildings, I think Joe described them as. And I'm looking at that site plan there, and I am seeing lots of trees and low-rise buildings. So to get your 225 units and 15 acres with I think you said small footprint buildings.
Well, that's what we
and open space, you're going to create towers. Pile these 225 units on top of one another. And it's like you're making Tyson South.
Hopefully not. I think they would run me out of town in Centerville.
But Joe's comment is very well taken, because you have to have something that a developer can look at and say, yeah, I can make this work and I can still make my money.
Right.
But, to do it right, I think you have to find a developer who's willing to not make a lot of money. Because, the developer's going to want money. Right?
Oh, yeah, without question.
But the aim, I think, of what you're trying to protect here is not conducive to making a lot of money. So that's the conundrum that you've got, is the economics versus the character that you say you're trying to preserve and enhance. I don't envy you trying to make sense of this. But if you just look at that, all I see is encroachment on this historic district. And how can you tell where the historic district is? Trees.
Right. I think there's ways of
where the trees stop is where the encroachments are.
Yeah.
And now you're talking about enlarging the encroachments within the HOD. The B5 is within the HOD, right?
It is, but not necessarily beyond the disturbance that you see here today. So it's
Well, no, but the disturbance you're talking about is this.
not necessarily, and this gets back to the
How
consolidation.
can you do low-rise, get 225 units in 15 acres?
This comes back to the consolidation piece that we were talking about earlier. So when we mentioned small building footprints, that's what was in, or what is in the existing design guidelines today. What we would do as a part of any recommendation is encourage the consolidation of parcels. So we would say, sir, developer, madam, or sir, we would like you to bring in this piece, and this piece. And if we can consolidate that together, then we can allow you to achieve your development density.
Because that'll work, then plus you can keep the open space behind you as a park or whatever.
Right.
You know, like is that a RPA zone right back there? Or
No.
So, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, what John is to preserve that tree because that is historical precedence. But wherever right now you have disturbance, if you can imagine just doing a clean rectangle where all those red buildings are on the right-hand side and redevelop that and keep the trees by itself.
I understand that, but invariably, it's going to be taller than the current stuff.
Oh, yes, without question.
Yeah.
3 to 5 stories.
Right, okay, and that
Which I don't think
creates
is-
shadow.
That's also, the trees is a misnomer though too. Just because there are trees does not mean they're historic.
Oh, yeah.
They're just, they grew
That's
because
what
the
that
buffer was there.
aerial.
I want to point out,
It's
that if
undisturbed.
you look, yeah, but
Yeah,
then it's getting choked. As someone who just had an organ removed because of a clogged duct, this is the historic district right here. It comes in right here. This choke point kills this district. Everyone who comes through goes this way and drives right by it. Unless you live in Centerville, which I did, you cannot reach this space unless you are willing to endure the traffic noise that is this location.
That is true.
It is unreachable. I lived right here. To walk here was a feat of activity. And so right now, coming into this space requires you to time lights perfectly, to hope you're in the right turning lane. And so you have a cluster of buildings. You also have a earthworks back here that I guess these folks enjoy. I have no idea if they do. I wouldn't go wandering in those townhomes because someone would probably ask me what the hell I was doing there and probably shoot me. So I'm just, like, if you're gonna fix this historic overlay district, you have to help connectivity happen here.
So that's one of the points.
If this isn't happening, then we're just gonna see it choke itself and die.
So that's one of the opportunities that the task force has talked about is creating a sort of gateway, like an entrance into the HOD area, something that acknowledges the existence of the historical features there. And again, just invites people into the space. This is the entrance, I guess you would, if you're coming from heading west on 29. This is probably the first commercial development that you're going to reach in this sort of general area. And so it kind of needs to speak.
Oh, that's why I use the cafe. I tell folks, you want to go see the historic district in Centerville, you go to the Jigray Cafe, then you leave the cafe, and if you probably can't even all the time go through their back parking lot. Like, that's how you get there without getting stuck at a million lights to go experience that. But Centerville Day,
I was just
the
getting ready
other
to say.
space in which that is accessible. So, and I don't want to dismiss my colleagues' comments about redeveloping that bowling alley and those stores right there, that collection of shops and proposing that. But if you do build something there, it has to enhance that connectivity issue. It would have to adjust that situation instead of creating another offset where folks are going to now dominate Pitwick Road. And you're going to continue to clog that space and say, don't go here. Why would you go here? You go to your fancy new millennial gray structure, because that's the other worry I have is what it's designed to look like. And, so because you're going to require us to change the height restrictions in the HOD to even allow that, I would assume, right?
I mean, that's what, it would take a zoning ordinance amendment to the HOD.
Yeah. The comp plan would, if that were to occur, the comprehensive plan would have to set that up first to allow for that. And then a subsequent, if that was going to be pursued, they would have to go through heritage resources and our zoning ordinance to allow for that level of development.
Because that is, to my colleague's counterpoint, when you are in that historic overlay district, because of the fact that there is not a looming structure, you are enjoying an environment that feels more conducive to what is remaining of it. And that's the other problem, I think, at least Gabriella, to your question about the history of it, is the downtown Centerville that once was is definitely eroded to the point that it's, you know, it's really a bell jar historic district. It's definitely not a thriving one right now.
So there's a lot of buffering between, and if just to jump on your other point, Centerville Day is on the 18th. If any of you are interested, it's a local festival that's held right here in the middle of the HOZ, so it's a great time to see it. A lot of what you can see from here, a lot of this is blocked currently today. But one of the considerations that we would like to think about is how this development is oriented towards some of these spaces. Now, I also have to clarify, again, that this portion here is privately owned. It is not owned by the Park Authority. The Park Authority only owns this piece. So there could be opportunity. No one has spoken to us about doing anything with the property. And it's not something we're technically encouraging today.
I just mentioned a couple key things. This is that gathering space, so just do this as in the historical district, turn the corner. This is that L that is formed, new development. Keep as much tree buffer as you want. And I think the bottom line is you need the new development to finance the improvements to the historical district that you want to see. You know, because, you know, unfortunately it takes money to create spaces.
So how would that work? Would that be a developer provides proffers?
Yep. I'll give you extra density to do this to the historical district. It happens every day.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
That's called incentives.
Hey, a follow-up question. In terms of increased density and stuff like that, where does the VDOT right-of-way for Route 29 end? Because one of the things we're losing in Route 1 is any of the smaller businesses that are close to the road, which that Korean cafe seems to be.
Yeah, it is on the doorstep.
So the Korean cafe is not within the right of way. It literally ends right here. This service road is
That's private, right?
private, yes.
Okay.
But it ends right on the other side. I kind of have it covered.
What about across the street?
Say that one more time.
There's a service road there too.
Where's the right-of-way across the street?
Same. It comes up to this buffer point here. There's a sidewalk, actually. If you can see here, there's no sidewalk on this side, but there is sidewalk right up to here. And then the space on the other side of the sidewalk is private.
Promising.
You basically have to have your walking path written on your hand when you walk through Centerville to know.
Yeah. No, I would never think of getting out of my car and walking.
Well, and then you have a very, very active community on the other side of the street that, like, crossing that road was an entire connectivity feat.
So why don't you live there anymore?
Why don't I live there anymore? Oh, I was renting there. And rent kept going on.
The sidewalks.
Well, I lived in, no, I had a sound wall. I got to hear the hum of 28 that put me to sleep every day.
Good for him.
But I mean, I really would be concerned, like, because I think about the construction that was done in Reston on the Parkway for these multifamily units, like where the Wegmans is now located and stuff, and they become like a monolith onto themselves of a community.
Right.
But they're just a block dropped in like an obelisk sitting on the horizon. And while everyone goes there because the Wegmans is there, people that live there, they have their own little pocket park. They're kind of, that's my worry, is the design for those feels like it's a Tetris piece as opposed to.
They're isolated.
Yeah.
Right.
And anything that would go there would really need to have its tendrils in a sensitive way connect the historic overlay district in a way that would say, come explore this space, obviously.
And that's a part of why I sort of identified on the area of focus. I identified this area. It didn't follow the parcel boundary. We don't have any specific recommendations now. But I think there's an opportunity to, well, actually, there's a feature here that we have to be sensitive of. But there is an opportunity to think about how people connect here and here as well. This is a stub road that connects to the historic church. I don't think we would encourage vehicular connections through here, but a pedestrian connection that could connect people to redevelopment here that would allow people to get into the HOD.
I have a question. Sure. Across 29, there's like a really big, it looks like it's a commercial
Big box.
building.
Palo
Is that
Alto.
Dairy Queen? That's like a Dairy Queen.
Oh, Palo Alto is a really big restaurant.
I thought you were talking about the restaurant.
Yeah.
There's an IHOP. You'll probably see
Yeah,
that.
it looks
Oh,
like
that's
there's
IHOP.
Historic
Can you
is
tell I
like
live there?
anything 50 years or
I'll
older.
apply.
And I know that sometimes it blows my mind that like
Your food's been mediocre.
I'm reviewing things from the 80s and the late 70s, discerning if they're historic or not, but that's where we are right now in the world. Looks like at the historic aerial photographs, like there's been a building there as early back as 1960.
Here?
Yeah. I don't know if it's that building.
Does it show this street? Does it show in 19, I don't think it may not have been 1960 if that's what you're looking at. But I know it did show in the.
Well, because that building is an IHOP, a Spa World, and it was an H Mart. I think it's a Honoro now.
Are you seeing Mountain View High School, which was Centerville Elementary?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's that high school for, okay, maybe. Okay.
Do you have anyone from a historical perspective on the task force? Other than county staff that might be attending those?
We have members of the Friends of Historic Centerville.
Okay, because I know that group exists.
It's on the task force. They're actually the ones who have been most vocal about activating the space. However, there are other folks within the Park Authority that help to maintain the assets that are there now. And it's a challenge. The Park Authority has a lot on their plate in maintaining this, all of the pieces that the Friends of Historic Centerville would like them to maintain is a bit of a challenge. So in any way that we think redevelopment can help with that or contribute to that space, it's something that I think we would likely encourage.
Can I jump in just for a second? Just because I think it's something that's been lost that I think you might be interested in is that a lot of the resources that are in Centerville are archaeological. Because it was a winter encampment. There was a lot of, it was a base for the Confederate Army. It was like 20,000 people that, yeah. So we don't necessarily see, it doesn't show on the landscape what is important here. So I just want to make sure that that's not lost. It was a historic crosstowns, and we did have, it was a colonial town, but the Civil War has been identified, and I think that's why it was expanded. So
I was going to say it was a major supply point at that point, and yeah. So that's the weirdness of this historic overlay district. Is it's got that combination of both built and archaeological, and they are not necessarily intertwined in the way that you might, look at them interpretation wise too.
So, and I think most of what the Park Authority owns are the archaeological resources, and then Mount Gilead. And the Sears House,
But remember the last meeting you were here, you had that trail, or that trench, whatever, the Civil War trench, that's in that wooded area right here?
It's actually above it. That when we were talking about Wharton Lane,
yeah,
it begins here. It begins right here and then goes north.
Okay, but there's no little trail through there, right? Civil War thing or anything?
No, not that's been identified. There's a cemetery that I think was identified here, and the foundation of a home that was identified here, and then there's a wall that's identified.
And the parks own that?
Parks owns this piece, yes.
And the cemetery?
I believe so. Actually, that's on the.
Okay, thank you.
Can you jump back to the map really quickly? Were there any other, while I'm pulling that up, here we go. Yes, they're all on the Park Authority owned parcel.
Which is the blue line?
No, the blue line is just our focus area.
Sorry.
It's this parcel. So the yellow lines are parcels. That's one large.
Got it. And that trail that we were talking about is upper right-hand corner? The trail?
Yeah, the covered way.
Yes, covered way, right here.
Yeah, that's a cool thing. And what are you gonna do with that? No, just let it?
We have no plans to as a part of this study, to do anything with it. Although there's the Wharton Lane property that we came and talked to you all about previously. That's
it'd be kind of cool if you, when you do this, is maybe figure tentacles out there to kind of somehow connect
to these pieces.
I know you got to cross a road, but it's a residential road. That's fine. So you got a little corridor to do it. Just thinking out loud.
Yeah.
So my strongest recommendation is that whatever goes forward with the task force and recommendations is that development in this area, the earlier that a developer concept can get to the ARB. Because I think any time we've gotten to one of these situations where there's development that occurs adjacent to or within an area, like I think of the Lake Ann Crescent project, the board comes across as an adversarial enemy because we are introduced to a concept that is so baked and so ready to come out that, and you have so much talent on this board, especially from an architecture and a landscape perspective. You know, the history folks, let me tell you about the history stuff. And archaeology, but for the design perspective, to work and design something new, which is what we're trying to be sensitive with and find harmony for. If we're not there early in that conversation, if the planning materials don't encourage early engagement with the ARB, then those developers who you're trying to seek to come here will feel as though they're hitting a wall when we would be like, we would have loved to talk to you about that concept. Like
we want to do that. We want to make sure that, again, the language that we put together now includes some of what you want them to think about before they come and speak to you. So let us know what those things are.
So I guess that would be my question is, what's the best way, where are the opportunities for us to suggest that to you in a manner that gets into the documents you need to see them in?
Yeah, so that's what I was wondering. Would you all, they could submit public comment, or yes, if you wanted to comment on the plan text or the plan amendment, or whatever, you could actually officially.
Okay, because in Reston, I was on the, so I obviously dove into individual texts and recrafted things and fought with other people who didn't like me and, things like that. But I think because I don't want us to be here in the future where development shows up and us say to a developer, because with you not being here, go, well, we said during this meeting and this, and that developer's never going to know what we said during that meeting. I wanted to translate into substance.
We're preparing a draft now, which is why we're here to talk to you all tonight, before that language is shared with the task force. So we're happy to share that draft with you and get the feedback. And if we need to come back again before that recommendation is finalized, have a conversation about that draft, we can do that too.
So are you also modifying the comp plans for this area too?
Yes, for the entire Centerville area.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, well.
I was just, are the property owners of the parcel that you would redevelop, are they participating in the task force?
They are not. We try to reach out to property owners early in the process. Because this is policy, they of course don't have to take us up on the options, but that's what we're creating, our plan options. But if they come to us in the future and maybe there's something they want to change, they would have to go through a separate sort of plan amendment process to update whatever our recommendations we put forward. Yeah.
It was just a way to incorporate their ideas, because if they've owned these lots for a long time, there's a lot of empty space, or we could have better use. What would we do? That seemed to be the missing component of the task force, is what the people with the property, what would they actually, what would incentivize them to redevelop?
There are a few property owners on the task force, but not for this particular project.
But if you rezone it and allow that, you could also property owner completely incentivized to sell. I mean, a property being zoned for that many residential units suddenly becomes potentially a marketable piece of land that previously was not. And that's why I want as much feedback as we can for someone, if they availed themselves of that right. The developer knows, hey, if I'm buying this, I have constraints I need to consider.
Which they're going to, because it's in the HOD. They have to go through, but still.
Well, we can say no, and technically the Board of Supervisors can say, that was nice that they said no, we'll say yes.
Mr. This is second what Mr. Daniels said. The 2013 plan amendments in Reston were a disaster for the historic core of Reston. And we fought, and we were reprimanded by the county clerk, and all sorts of things went on because of that. But we weren't at the table. We didn't get a seat at the table. And I'm just curious, was there any consideration of having a representative from the ARB be on the Centerville task force?
I think what I can say is that the supervisor's office was responsible for putting together the task force. And I know she tried to include as diverse a group as possible. She was really focusing on the residents that live in Centerville today, because we get a lot of feedback if folks don't live in the community or are part of coming up with the recommendation. I don't think it's a problem to come and talk to other groups. That's something that we do as staff. So even if you don't have a seat directly at the task force, the meetings are open, and we're happy to share and continue to get feedback from this group and others as needed. So I don't want you to feel like if you're not on the task force that there's not an opportunity for you all to contribute to the recommendation.
Do you report out on these meetings to the task force?
Yes, we let them know that we were coming here tonight. We had a meeting last night, and we told them we'll provide a summary to them at our next meeting. We meet every 2 weeks. Anyone who wants to join online or come out to Centerville. So our next meeting is in a couple of weeks. We'll follow up with them.
Yeah, because the problem from our, at least my perception of the problem from our perspective, is that our county staff is woefully undermanned, underpersoned, whatever you want to call it. And if we were to be more active, it would have to be from one of us volunteering to do that. So, you know, if you were to say, oh, we want somebody from Heritage Resources to accompany us on these task forces, I think they'd have to say no, because they don't have the horsepower to be able to do that.
Laura is unfortunately not able to attend all of the meetings, but we do have internal meetings that Heritage Resources is a part of. So they're looped in, absolutely.
Yeah. But I totally agree with Mr. Daniels. We do not want to be seen as the group who says no.
Fair enough.
We want to get to yes.
We just gotta get one of you Mount Vernon district folks to move to the center. I mean, that's how me and Samantha got on the restaurant. We live in Reston, so we got in. So, you know, just sell that Holland Hills house for $600, like you say, and, you know.
Is someone from the Stuart Mosby Civil War Museum on the task?
Not to my knowledge, no.
I just was wondering, like, if there was a Civil War Museum in Centerville, and there is.
He's passed.
No. He passed away.
Is that the Jones?
Mr. Hogue, or he passed away.
Yes, and his wife still owns the property. Is that the?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, and it's
with all this Civil War history, could it be interpreted inside a building somewhere?
The museum.
Since obviously we can't go dig it up,
Right.
but there are so many photographs online, like much more than I expected about the Civil War. And I was just wondering, like, could we not create a community space and start interpreting what's hidden with the wealth of documentation out there?
Well, and I was looking for correlates for Arlington County, which I'm a little more familiar with, but I mean, they've done a lot of interpretation on the circle of forts that, you know, are in the perimeter. One thing that occurred to me with the amount of space that's there, and I don't know if this is a well-liked plan or not, because it was something that happened before there was a lot of thought into historic preservation, but Fort Ethan Allen Park in North Arlington, they've, you know, retained the Civil War features, but there's a school nearby. They've added a dog park, there's a playground, but they've created an opportunity for people to access the space that allows for the interpretation. You would never know what's there unless it's on a sign and you read it, but it's also a way to create community engagement by having places that people want to go to. So
This would be great here.
yes, and that's where, but I don't know enough about the history of, you know, a lot of times those parks got developed before there was any archaeology done at all. Who knows what was destroyed? Thankfully, by the time they wanted to do the dog park, which you would need in a high density situation for sure, they, you know, were doing more archaeology. But I just, you know, to the extent that looking at your neighboring county and how they've treated their Civil War resources in conjunction with community facilities might be a good sort of model to look at. And Fort Ethan Allen came to mind just because I was involved with the dog park project a long time ago, so.
All right. Well, Mr. Burton, thank you. I think you have gotten a significant amount.
I love coming to talk to you all. This is great. Thank you so much.
You say that to all the boards and committees.
We like the sound of our voices. Thank you very much. All right, let's try to rock and roll through the board and staff items. With respect to the minutes from September, Denise did email with some changes that have already been made. to the September minutes. If nobody has any other changes, I'd entertain a motion. Mr. Daniel?
I move that the ARB approves the September 11th, 2025 meeting minutes and pay the clerk, Brian Johnson.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Burns seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries. Our treasurer's report as of September 19th, we had $36,891.10. As promised, we had a nice conversation about our 2027 budget request. We are asking for a one-time technology request. Don't hold your breath, but we have asked. As you can also see, we need to renew our membership in the National Trust membership. So I would entertain a motion, Mr. Burns.
I move that the ARB approve the annual renewal of its National Trust membership in the amount of $250.
Is there a second? Mr. Kalinsky, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries. That brings us into discussions, updates, reports, the postmodern selective survey update. Denise.
Yeah, so that, I just wanted to let you know that report has been finalized and it is now posted on the county's webpage. If you just Google Fairfax County postmodern survey, you will find it. It is a selective survey, but I felt the historic context turned out really well. So just recommend it for your.
I love that we're the darling of the state when getting these surveys done.
They are very happy that that's done, yeah.
Denise, 1102 Chainbridge Road update.
Yes, so the owner has worked to replace and modify the windows on the front of the house and modified the second story windows on the side of the house, bringing these remaining outstanding issues into conformance. These changes, along with the previous changes that he had made, which was that overhang and the little, I don't know what you would call them, but the little corners on the front facade.
Lamb chop.
Lamb chops.
Pork chops.
Oh, yeah. It's a technical term. So all of those changes, we felt now brought the house into conformance with what the ARB had originally approved. And we have lifted the notice of violation, and I don't get a notification about whether he submitted for his residential use permit, but I'm assuming he has moved forward with that. Good work.
All right.
Good work. Thank you for dealing with that.
Yep. And Denise and I can announce that the board will be considering for approval the HOD property classifications that's scheduled for their meeting next week on October 14th. Denise, anything else on that?
What is that?
Yeah, what is it?
I'd prefer maybe to talk to you about that separately.
Sure.
The board members separately, if that's okay.
Sure.
But I'm happy to talk about that. Denise, did you have anything else?
No, only that it will be an action item, so there's no public hearing. So yes, so there's not going to be.
The board's already found that the public hearings already took place. Yeah. We don't have any correspondence or announcements. We don't have any.
We lost our staff person.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, how's the search for a new staff person?
I mean, now we.
I was going to say something about that in new business. But
Okay,
sorry.
I can make that old, but it doesn't matter.
Old business, he's gone. New business.
I mean, he's back where.
I'll handle that now. Denise, you can piggyback on me if you need to, okay?
Just to be fair.
We are very sad to lose Jason. He was offered his position back at GSA and he has accepted that position. Denise is back with us and we are very happy to have her back. But Denise has gotten approval to hire for Jason's position, so she is actively.
There is a hiring freeze in the county, but they understand the critical need for this role, and I'm blessed to go out and.
When was the hiring freeze put into place?
We got an email about it, so not that long.
Our budget is hemorrhaging here in the
Yes.
county, so.
Is that? No, but people are hemorrhaging jobs too.
Yeah.
Delaying
Are you gonna go out for listing again, or are you gonna go back
I
to prior
don't know,
candidate?
we haven't quite figured it out yet. This is very, very recent.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're still working with HR to figure out what the next steps are.
I just reiterate, please,
Yeah.
if there is a listing that goes out, please share. I know many of us in the field know lots of folks who are like Jason, who were very qualified to do this. I was gonna ask, what about Liz's job?
Yeah. That has been advertised and they've gone through at least initial interviews.
Okay.
Yes.
So that will not be affected by the freeze?
No, no.
Okay.
That's another one that's sort of crucial. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, our other new business is our nomination committee, and Steve and Joe, it's you guys. I don't know if you knew that, but.
I mean, or me and Jason can be the nominee.
So what we have to do is, we are using our October meeting to pick our nominating committee, and I can't think of anybody better. We will announce a slate at the November meeting, and we will vote at the December.
Oh my God. But for us to be the nominating committee,
why?
someone has to bring snacks.
Why do we need a new chair?
We have to every year.
We have to vote every year.
Every year.
Feel free
And the
to
chair
vote.
can only serve 4 consecutive terms
How
in
many
a
times
row.
do you do, 3
Oh,
or
so we
4?
can vote
4.
the same chair.
4?
Over and over again?
Yeah, that's why you saw me and Jason do this swap. I hit my quota.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know, I'm the treasurer.
No,
I've never actually seen the decks. All right.
Yeah.
So Jason or Mr. Plumpy or Mr. Kalinsky might be calling you.
Can't wait.
Meet him at Bunny Man.
Let's step out of the
Yeah.
hallway right now.
Yeah. Get it over
Denise.
So I do want to apologize for missing that extra, motion, actually part of the
Oh,
motion.
yeah.
I was so careful, but I was doing this at like 10:30 last.
Can you sense my
Okay.
anger right now?
You're so
You know how
annoying,
upset
though.
I
Who
am?
came up with the
I do
language?
apologize.
We enforce
It was on the ball.
this.
Okay, don't worry about it.
It's fine.
But I should apologize for those snacks. We got-
We're out,
it was
we're
in
gone, they're gone.
Mr. Burns has,
Oh,
we
yeah,
have some
sorry.
standard announcement.
Mr. Burns.
We got trick or treat.
Well, one more new thing. Yeah, Mr. Burns, go ahead.
3 things real quick.
Great.
I emailed all of you announcements for the Docomomo DC tour this Saturday. That's a great, quick turnaround. But then there's also this APT's gathering that's coming up on October 21st. And I also emailed that to you all, so you don't have to do anything about it. You got it already. And the last thing of mine.
Hold on, I'm sorry, John, just before you go on from that. If you're going, please let Denise know you're going, because if more than 3 of us show up, it has to be advertised as a public meeting. So please let Denise know if you're going to either.
But it's a broadly attended gathering.
Yes, that's, but
Tuesday the
Tuesday,
21st.
those are our
My friend
rules.
Carly Bond
Talk
is
to the lawyers.
one of the people doing it. Don't make me rules, they're way above my head.
But I didn't tell you that,
Well,
John.
where's the cocktail hour?
Don't talk about that during the recorded part of the meeting. Go ahead, John, your
You
third
can
thing.
ask me later.
Yeah, what's your third item?
Third item is I was approached by Supervisor Stork's office to consider being reappointed. And I thought about it, but I said yes.
Oh, man, you gave, I got really worried there for a second.
You're
It's
stuck
good,
with
because I was approached and I said, only if John is accepting. Yes, I did.
I was approached by my person too, and I said, only if these two do it, and if I could do comedy relief, and they said.
And only if you could be on the nominating.
Snacks, how much snacks, but, so I said yes too.
Anything else, Denise?
No, that was it.
I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
John moves, we adjourn. All those in favor?
Good team.
See you next month, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah, bring big candy for snacks.
For the